go live. Hello everyone, welcome along to the Sports Corner Live. If you're joining us this morning for the UEFA Champions League and Europa League draw, then get prepared for what is going to be a momentous morning of action. We are live from the studio for the first time since, well, God knows how long. We're going to be live around 10:30 with build-up for tonight's incredible Champions League. Well, not tonight's Champions League draws, but the draws will be done in about the next hour and a half of the Champions League. And then straight afterwards, we will have that Europa League draw. So very excited indeed to see what is going to come up with today's draw. But keep your eyes out, as I said, build-up will be beginning around 25 minutes' time. So we'll have the boys in the studio as always. But as for now, you can see on your screen the seeded and unseeded sides that are all taking part in this Champions League round of 16. Of course, we will have that Europa League round of 32 draw a little bit later on today. But as for now, we will have build-up at 10:30. We've got 25 minutes to go. Sit back, relax, get the popcorn ready, and very best of luck. Do tell us in the chat, which team are you supporting in the Champions or Europa League? Because no doubt I think we'll have a few Rangers fans in the building today, and I'm pretty sure we're going to have plenty of other fans across European football. So sit back, relax, enjoy yourself. 25 minutes until the build-up. But as for now, we'll leave you some music, and you can see which teams are in the round of 16 in the Champions League, which is the first draw taking place at 11 a.m. UK time. We'll see you soon. So good morning once again to everybody who's joining us today for the UEFA Champions League and UEFA Europa League draw, which will be taking place a little bit later on today. Hope you're all good and you've had a fantastic day so far, whether it's the morning, afternoon or evening, wherever you are. Stay on the Sports Corner, because this is where all the action is taking place. We'll be live with the UEFA Champions League round of 16 draw, which is taking place at about 11 a.m. UK time. So the draw should take place in just under an hour's time for the Champions League. And then straight afterwards, we're going to be building up and talking about the UEFA Europa League draw, which is the round of 32. That takes place at 12 p.m, which is about 1 hour and 50 minutes away. Thank you very much for joining us. Censored by Google, which time zone are your times for? That would be GMT in terms of time zones. So hopefully that helps you out. As I said, if you're new to the stream, as always, do leave a like and a subscription. We are going to have build-up for the Champions League draw in about 20 minutes' time. We'll have the boys, as always, in the studio for the first time for us in just under a year, which is very exciting indeed. Back in the studio again, which is great. But yeah, we'll have build-up in about 15 minutes' time. So keep your eyes out. Do leave a like and a subscription. And for those of you that are wondering, when is that Europa League draw? That takes place at 12 p.m, which is GMT, for anybody that's wondering that time zone. So stick around for now. Build up in about 15 minutes' time. I'm still waiting for the boys to get here. But as for now, put your feet up, relax, and hopefully we can have a good draw. And as always, as it comes up on the screen, do tell us in the chat which team do you support and who would you like to face in the round of 16. Of course, it's going to be very interesting to see which team is going to face who in those knockout stages in February. But as for now, as I said, put your feet up, sit back, relax. We will have that draw reaction coming to you in about 15 minutes' time. And for those of you that are wondering, are we showing the draw live? We cannot show the actual draw live. We're going to be doing our reaction to it. You'll be able to see, as you can see on the screen, in a second. We've got everything there, so we will be actually covering the draw live, but we cannot show the official draw because of copyright, unfortunately. But for those of you that cannot get access to the draw, you want to keep up to date with who is facing who, then stick around, because we will be keeping you updated with that draw and who is going to face who. But as I said, as for now, sit back, relax. You've got about 15 minutes until we begin our build-up, and it should be a very good draw indeed. But as for now, enjoy the music, and we'll be back very soon with our Sports Corner build-up for the Champions League. And as I said, don't forget to subscribe as always. It's very greatly appreciated. But as for now, see you in about 15 minutes' time. Good morning to everybody that is joining us live on the Sports Corner. Thank you very much for joining us on this very fine morning. Hope you're all good as always. If you're new to the channel, do leave a like and a subscription. We are about to get underway in about 10 minutes with build up to today's Champions League round of 16 draw. Of course, tell us in the chat as always, who do you support? Which team would you like to face in the Champions League? And of course, if you are a Europa League side, do tell us who you'd like to face in the Europa League, because the Europa League round of 32 draw will be covering straight after the Champions League round of 16. So do keep your eyes out, of course. If you're wondering, I'll be showing the draw live. We cannot because of copyright reasons, but we are going to be covering that draw all together. We've got build-up in 10 minutes with the boys, but as for now, sit back, relax, leave a like and a subscription as always, and we'll be live in about 10 minutes with build-up for the Champions League round of 16 draw, and then the round of 32 draw for the Europa League straight afterwards. And I can see you in the chat as well, Bernaldo. Good to see you as always, buddy. Thank you very much. Jordan in the stream saying Chelsea fan would like to face Atletico Madrid. That's a very interesting shout indeed. I think that would be a very good tie for the neutral, and a very interesting tie for Chelsea fans. But of course, Bernaldo as well, Spurs fan. Very best of luck with Spurs in the Europa League. That draw is at 12 GMT for anybody wondering what the time zone is. So going to be interesting to see what happens. Draw is in about 40 minutes time, I believe, with build up in about 10 minutes, so keep your eyes out on the channel. Can't beat a bit of lo-fi, can you, Bernaldo? It's like a pre-build-up show, this. I'm waiting for the boys to arrive, so I've got a bit of time to sit back and relax. And as I said, for the first time, we're back in the studio since about March, which is absolutely bonkers when you think about it. But it's good to be back in here, and hopefully we can have a good draw later on. As I said, do tell us in the chat who you'd like to face in the knockout stages, which club you support as well. And as always, actually, tell us where you're from, too. It's always nice to see everybody from around the world come together for big competitions like this. But just about 10 minutes until we go live with some build-up, I believe. Hopefully the boys will be here very soon, fingers crossed, and then we'll get underway. If not, then it might be a little bit later on, and then I'll do a bit of build-up myself, to be honest. But yeah, we'll have build-up from 10:30. See you very soon. Jordan saying in the chat there, Diego Costa against his old club would be nice. That would be a very interesting tie indeed. But I think he's out injured, isn't he, right now, Diego Costa? So I don't know what's going on there, but By the way, I've just realised on my graphic I said we were doing build-up from 11:15, so I probably don't expect the boys to get here for another 20 minutes. So we might do a bit of pre-build-up on my own for a little bit, just to pad out some time, and then of course we'll get the boys on about 11:15 and do some build-up. That draw starts at 11 GMT for those wondering about the time zone. So we've got about 35 minutes till it starts. Usually it takes about 10 or 15 minutes for them to ramble on about the rules and things like that. So I wouldn't expect the actual draw to take place till about 11:15 GMT, because usually they like to pad the draws out and make them as long as they possibly can. So we've got plenty of build-up to do. We'll get the boys in very shortly. I will do some pre-build-up in about 5 minutes' time while we wait for the boys to join us, and then of course we'll get underway with the draw reactions. As always, I know I keep saying it, do leave a like and subscription. We do every single Champions League and Europa League draw live, so if you can't get access to them, you can't get access to those draws, then always stick around with us. It'll be very interesting indeed to see the draws to come. Of course, we've got the round of 16 and round of 32 of the Champions League and the Europa League today, and then of course we have the quarterfinals, semi-finals, so on and so forth, which come in the next few months. So stick around the channel if you want to keep up to date with the draws. We've got the FA Cup draws as well to do next year, and a whole host of other competitions as well. Jordan in the chat saying Pogba could be heading to Juventus. I think there'd be a lot of happy Juventus fans if that was to happen, but of course they've got to find out who they're facing the round of 16 a little bit. And as I said, do tell us in the chat what would be your favourable matchup, because it is quite interesting. There's a few pretty interesting draws we could see, but I'll do my build-up in a few minutes. I'll do my build-up from 10:30. We'll have the boys in from 11:15, so we'll see you very shortly. Hello everyone and welcome along to the Sports Corner Live. We are back once again for the Champions League round of 16 draw, and I'm delighted to say that we are finally back in the studio. And for those of you that are long-term viewers of the channel, you'll know for quite a bit of time we've been out of the studio now. We've been waiting to be able to get back into it again. But here we are back in the studio. It's that camera there. Good to see you all as always. And good to say that I'm joined by two very special guests. Looking forward to the Champions League draw today. We've got on the right-hand side, we've got Kieran L. On the left-hand side, we've got Rowan. How are we both doing today?
Can barely see me.
Yeah, it's one of those where it's a bit awkward in a way to be able to see.
You can see my right hand. I might just react through this arm.
Yeah. And of course, boys, it's going to be a very exciting draw which takes place in about 13 minutes time, or if we're being honest with you, in about half an hour, because it tends to usually start around 11 o'clock, but the draw procedure takes, God knows.
That ring area. It was a little bit of a waffle.
It takes some time. We're going to start off by saying thoughts and prayers to Gerard Houllier's family, of course. If you haven't heard the news this morning, the situation that has happened with Gerard Houllier, of course, unfortunately passed away today at the age of 73, which is a real shame, of course, and a bit of sad news to, of course, bring today. Of course, as well, for those of you that are watching, just give us an update whether you can hear everybody fine. We usually tend to have headphones on, but of course, COVID means that I can't hear what's going on, which is quite frustrating for me. But as we said, we've got two draws coming up today. We've got the Champions League round of 16 draw, and we've also got the Europa League round of 32 draw, which there's certain someone in here who's going to be very excited for that Europa League draw, of course, which is Rowan,
My
big
boys.
Slavia Prague fan, which of course we'll talk about that one a little bit later on. But the Champions League draw, I think it's more for you, Kieran, because we know if you're a regular viewer on the channel, you'll know that you're a big fan of Gladbach. And are you looking forward to it today, of course, to see it again?
Yeah, I fell in love with them a little bit over the last year and a half. I found their play style absolutely unbelievable, and Marco Rose has done such a fantastic job, hence why he's linked to the Dortmund job now. He's been absolutely brilliant, and so have Borussia Mönchengladbach. I'm excited to see who they get, because this is the first foray into the knockout stages, and you saw what it meant to the players, and it could go one step further. The limbs, Josh, the limbs.
There will be some severe limbs indeed. But now the same studio boys, obviously, long-term viewer, you'll know, of course, we've been waiting for ages to be able to get back in here. Chris has put a very important point. He said, no KD today. I thought he wanted to see who United get. Oh, wait, I forgot that's Europa League. Unbelievable. We're not even, 5 minutes into the build-up and already Manchester United
That's the reason he's not here, for moments like that, Chris.
That's exactly why he didn't turn up today.
All the elite teams playing Europa.
Oh, that's well. You're glad that KD's not here today, or else he would have probably walked out instantly. But we've got a bit of build-up to do, of course. That draw, for any of you that are wondering, is taking place at 11 GMT, 11 AM UK time, of course, for those of you wondering. We've got a lot to talk about. We've got the 32 teams facing off against each other. We're going to talk about each team, I think, while we've got about 25 minutes to do so. And then, of course, when that draw starts, we'll go over to this screen here, where you'll be able to see, of course, each draw as it unfolds. Of course, I'll be updating it as each game is drawn out. But, of course, as always, tell us in the chat what you would like to see in terms of the games being played. It'd be very interesting to see, of course, what goes on with the games today, because a lot of big teams in there. But I just said might turn the music a bit down. I thought I'd switched it off. Apparently not. Tell me if it's switched off now, but it should be all right indeed. Chris has put, of course, rest in peace, Gerard Houllier, a legendary manager at Liverpool, memorable for winning treble at UEFA Cup, FA Cup, and League Cup 2001, which is, of course, a real shame indeed with that today. But let's go on to the main point, of course. We've got 32 teams in this round, and I kind of want to go through each team very briefly and talk about how they've done so far in this Champions League campaign, and really get a kind of a gist of what we'd like to see in terms of those fixtures that are going to be drawn out today. So you'll be able to see on your screen now. Let's take a look at the seeded teams first. Now, these are the teams, of course, that finished at the top of their groups. There's some very big teams in there. And unfortunately, for the unseeded teams, there is not one bad team in this pot. Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, Manchester City, Liverpool, Chelsea, Dortmund, Juventus, and Paris Saint-Germain are the 8 teams in the seeded side of the pot at the very least. There is no easy tie in that section of the draw, is there, guys? In terms of a team you're going to face off against.
There's favourable. I'm not going to say any of them are easy because they're not. But if you look at, let's be honest, Bayern Munich are a different beast. I know we talked last night, Josh, and yeah, they've been dropping points recently, but then you don't want to go up against them in the first round by no means. There's some favourable teams, and we'll probably get onto them when we mention them, but no easy draw for the unseeded sides. And we talked about how Europa could be the best in years. So could this Champions League, really, with the amount of teams that finish top at group.
Yeah, I think for once, you look at every single team, you think, they do have, obviously in this unseeded, there are a couple of teams that you think it's an outside chance, but that pot one may be the one of the best pot ones we've had for a while. We know the Champions League is for the Europe's elite, and that the teams that have gone through are probably the elite of them all, really. I'm trying to think of probably Inter, a surprising team that's gone down who you think would normally be there, but every single team has got a chance to win it, I would say.
Definitely do indeed. There's a lot of incredible teams in that section of the pot. Oliver Dara said off now, no interference. Thank you very much. As I said, I can't hear anything because usually I have headphones, so it makes it very harder for me to be able to kind of hear what's going on, but at least that's all good now. Let's talk about some of these teams in the seeded side of the Champions League draw, of course. Bayern Munich, the Champions League winners last year, were very unconvincing at times, I think you could say, in this Champions League group stage. I think the best result they got on the board was the 4-0 win against Atletico Madrid. But there was a few games, I think the Lokomotiv Moscow game where they only just won late on in the match. Salzburg, where it took them a good 70, 80 minutes to really get their form. Just how good are this Bayern Munich side, considering that they were the top scorers of any Champions League club in the group stage, but never really looked majorly convincing?
Yeah, really haven't had a chance to watch it. It's not been Katie and Will who've watched it. I did watch that first game. Unfortunately, I watched a game where they ran wild, an easy win. And from that, but you see how they play. We watch Bundesliga every weekend. They can break down teams. If it's a Bayern side that is up and feeling it, they can score 10 past anyone. If it's a Bayern side where someone's not, like if Lewandowski's off, it's a narrow win. Bayern at their worst can beat some of the best teams in this competition, which is mental to say.
You're beginning to question a little bit whether they're being found out, because you've looked in the Bundesliga this year and you saw the Hoffenheim game where, and I don't say this very lightly, Hoffenheim genuinely destroyed Bayern Munich, and you don't say that very often. Union Berlin picked up a 1-1 draw. Once, not many people had a blueprint on Hansi Flick's side last year and in the Bundesliga, and he did his amazing things. But you'd like to think that after the year they've had, maybe people are starting to pick up on some tendencies and a way to beat this Bayern Munich side, and that would make for a better tournament altogether, I think, if one of the favourites gets out early. But I doubt it. I think they're a brilliant side.
Well, we saw the year before, of course, it was Liverpool who went in as the favourites, of course, winning the Champions League, and they got knocked out by Atletico Madrid in the end. Are we going to potentially see something very similar? We'll have to find out. I think let's move on to the other German team, and I think, of course, everybody knows the big news that came out. Lucien Favre being sacked by Borussia Dortmund, so we're going to see a different manager, of course, taking charge of the club by that point, which is going to be Lucien Favre's former assistant. And former Slaven Bilic's assistant as well. Rowan, you're a big fan of Borussia Dortmund. Very disappointing result against Stuttgart at the weekend, a 5-1 defeat. An embarrassing result, if we're being honest with you. But Borussia Dortmund, they've tended to be one of those sides in the last couple of years that don't really do much in the Champions League. The year before, they got a good result in the first leg against Paris Saint-Germain before losing to them. Do you think we could see something similar again this year where Dortmund are knocked out fairly early on?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I hate to say it, they're a one-man team, and it's all about Haaland. Yes, your midfielders, your Brandt, your Hazards, your Reyners, your Witsel, your Chan, do play very well. But unfortunately, there are levels, and Haaland is a level above everyone. And it doesn't bring down the team, but when Haaland is your only goal, scoring your only goals, and then you don't even have a backup. Your backup is Marco Reus, who is ageing, and who's really transitioned to sort of a central attacker midfielder now. And it's Julian Brandt, who's normally on the right, and then it's Yusuf Moukoko, who's 16, you really have got an issue. Like when we talked about it yesterday, not yesterday when they lost, how Favre needs to be sacked, but yet when they lost Paco, we was like, well, I understand why. Nice bit of money, and he was never going to be played. He was never going to start. But you lost your backup. So if Haaland did ever get injured, you haven't got that, and it's clearly shown now that they can't cope without Haaland. So either in January before the tournament starts, bring in a backup, or really train someone up. Get Moukoko play every single game so he's ready. But again, he's 16.
Yeah, I think the thing is, if you look back at Dortmund's campaigns, I don't know if you'll agree, they've never shone, but they are a pain in the backside to play for any other team. Like, they're never an easy tie for anybody. You do have slightly something on your side if you think about, assistants in Europe. Hansi Flick won a tournament, Di Matteo won a tournament, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer had a magical night in Paris as a caretaker manager. Maybe lightning strikes 4 times and it can be successful. But as you say, Haaland will be back more than likely, so it will be a different team. But whoever gets Dortmund, would you say it's favourable? Maybe, but they're also just a pain in the backside to play.
I think the best person to ask that question is Rowan. I think you've seen them a lot this year, and
Yeah.
I think, as you said, with the missing Haaland, it's going to be a very, very tricky Champions League campaign because they've struggled for goals, and that defeat against Stuttgart means that they are back to square one again. And, of course, this new assistant manager, who has been at the club now for a couple of years, is going to have to completely rip up the book and start from scratch with new systems and tactics, I think.
For me, yeah, it's a new formation. They've got to go. If they want to really challenge, the 5 at the back worked great. We talked about this with Guerrero and Hakimi. They were so attacking, but then other three at the back did stay rigid. But now, Mori just doesn't bring what Hakimi brings. Mounier doesn't. And they are still attacking. But Hakimi had that pace on the counters, and to track back, he was there. Hummels scores a lot of goals. He also likes to play such a high line compared to Akanji and either whoever's playing that other centre role is either Zagadou, Piszczek. I know Belerde, before I went out on loan, was playing there as well. I think it's, first of all, keep that rigid line. Don't let one of them push up, because surprisingly, you are left so at the back because none of your defenders have got an amazing track back ability because your fullbacks are attacking, so you left it 2 at the back against some. The Bundesliga, for me, is one of the best leagues, like your counter-attack and free-flowing football, in my opinion. I love the Bundesliga.
I agree with you. I love the Bundesliga, but joke's on Hakimi because he's out. So there you go.
That's the thing.
Mounier's still in the tournament. Hakimi's out. So
yeah, for me, you've got to change up. Even if you stick in 5 at the back, I don't know what you do if you genuinely play a defensive formation and just really rely on Chan, Witsel to take out the back for you rather than Hummels, Zagadou, Akanji. But it's going to be a tough tournament for me, I think. Even if Terzic has got a bit of time, 2 months to really build that team back up, because all it takes is Haaland to get injured for another month or even a game, and you are back to square one.
It's going to be a tough season, I think, for Dortmund. It's going to be a very long one at the very least, because they've already got to try and get a fair amount of points in the Bundesliga to keep up with the likes of Leverkusen and Leipzig, not including Bayern in that list. And, well, they're going to have a very tricky Champions League campaign indeed. The draw is not about to start. In terms of the build-up to it, it is about to start. As I said, usually, if you watch the draws before, it takes them about 10 or 15 minutes to actually get into the draw. They go through the draw procedures and things like that, which we'll go over in a little bit. In terms of the other teams, very quickly in the seeded side of the draw, let's talk about the Premier League sides altogether. Manchester City, Liverpool and Chelsea. Chelsea, of course, spending a lot of money this season in the transfer window, bringing the likes of Timo Werner and Kai Havertz. Had a fairly easy Champions League group, did very well against Sevilla in a game that realistically didn't mean much, but guaranteed them finishing top. But Chelsea spending a lot of money. They're going to be under a lot of pressure to go out there and go far in this competition. I think you probably agree.
Yeah, but I also think they're the most favourable group in this. Favourable team in this pot, and I don't mean that as any offence to Chelsea. It's just such an incredible pot one.
Don't say that to Jordan. He's put Chelsea fan. We will win whoever we are against.
Sorry, Jordan. But no, I do think, like, I was looking from an unseeded perspective. Chelsea, the team you want to face, because for me they are a good side, but. For me, it depends which Chelsea turn up. It really depends, because I remember we've seen them draw literally this weekend. I think we saw them drop points, like everybody did, to be fair. But it depends which one turns up, and they've spent a lot of money. I don't know if they've all quite gelled well. They've had a good Champions League campaign, but have they really been tested yet? Sevilla are good, don't get me wrong, but once to come up against an elite side, are they at that level? I think they're a couple of years off, personally, but I'm more than welcome for them to surprise me in the round of 16 and get through to the quarters or the semis.
Rowan, I was just going to quickly go on to the other teams as well. Manchester City and Liverpool, two teams that I think one team is under a lot more pressure than the other to go and win the Champions League. But Liverpool's defeat last season to Atletico Madrid was a pretty shocking result in the context of the game. And I think Manchester City was even more shocking for the fact that they got knocked out by Lyon, who aren't even in the competition this year. For Manchester City, how much pressure is Pep Guardiola under to at least try and win this competition? Because they were close to it last season, but fell very short to a team that I think 99% of people would have probably bet to have won, to have lost the game, Lyon.
Yeah, I feel like we say it every single watch long that we do with City, every podcast when we talked about it. You can't spend the money you've spent and not win a Champions League. It is baffling that they haven't. Yeah, where are their really problems? Is it a strike with Jesus? Is he really Champions League winning quality? I think Aguero is and was, but can you rely on him for another 2 seasons to win you a Champions League? Probably not. Is Jesus that man to step up? Who knows? I think your defence has shown a little bit more security, but again, you've had weaknesses exposed. I think for City, they've got a good team. I feel like they just can't do it. I feel like it's just like a curse. Like, they've spent so much money. They've done everything they can. They got knocked out last year embarrassingly. Is it just written and said they're not going to win it under Pep? But yeah, a new manager come in, they could win it instantly. I feel like they've got the team. It's just something in the back of my head saying they're not going to win it under Pep.
It does feel like a curse at times, doesn't it, for Manchester City and Liverpool, a team who probably felt cursed themselves at the point, were finally able to go on and win the Premier League and the Champions League. And, well, they're going to be under pressure themselves to go out there and get something this season, even with the massive amount of injuries they've got. So that is the seeded side of the draw. For those of you wondering when the draw is taking place, they're just going through all of the 16 teams that have got through to the knockout stages. So I would assume, give it about 10 minutes and the draw will get underway. Of course, we'll update you with everything that's going on. Let's take a quick look at the comments and see what you guys have been saying. Let's have a look what you guys have been saying. Banal's put, who are the underdogs in that section of the pool, do you think? Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, City, Liverpool, Chelsea, Dortmund, Juventus, PSG.
Oh, it's only pot one. Damn.
I'd say as of right now, just in current circumstances, Dortmund maybe just because of no manager, but I'm trying.
It's hard to have
PSG without Neymar.
It's hard to have an underdog from a pot one team because they are the world's best, aren't they? But if you're talking about a team that from that pot one that may do better than expected, oh wow, I think you are looking at Dortmund because they're the only ones that people have limited expectations on. Chelsea,
yeah, just because their easy group, it was against Sevilla, but then you had Rennes and
Krasnodar.
That's what I think in Lokomotiv for some reason. Yeah, they had an easy group.
It's going to be interesting to see how Dortmund do. And of course, Rowan, you're the one who's looking forward to that, which we'll see very, very soon indeed. Carl's put in the chat, beat Champions League, Euros or World Cup draw. I hate the build-up before the draw. Just get on with it. We all agree with you, Kyle. It's the most unnecessary build-up, but we have to get through it in the end. And Alexis put in the chat, good to see you as always, buddy. Back in the studio, boys. Well in, of course, one of our regular viewers. And if you aren't a regular viewer and you've just joined us and you've enjoyed it so far, then do leave a like and a subscription as we push towards 1,400 subscribers. Didn't say that yesterday, did I? No questions on that one today. We're pushing towards 1,000 subscribers. As I said, we cover the Champions League and the Europa League draws every time they take place. Claudio Ranieri lookalike is about to come out and talk about the rules. But before we look at the rules and things like that, let's take a look at the unseeded side of the draw, because I think there is one team that you really want to talk about right now, Kieran, and that is Gladbach. They were in what was the group of death, if we're being quite frankly honest with you. You know, the group with Real Madrid and Inter Milan. They finished in second place. Of course, unfortunately lost out to Real Madrid on the last day. But the fact that they got there is a massive achievement for Gladbach. Yeah,
absolutely unbelievable. And I'll be honest, a lot of people, and I don't mean this in any football fans, you know, they'd kind of written them off because it was the group of death. You know, you see Inter Milan, lots of European pedigree for that Italian side. You look at Real Madrid, so much pedigree, it's unbelievable for that team. But then you have Gladbach, and they've surprised a lot of people, but they have played some wonderful stuff. They are very clinical when they go forward, you know, with the Thuram and Plea. They've got dangerous players like that. And I think, you know, I'm going to obviously back my boys, but Bernardo, these are the dark horses you need to look out for. Borussia Mönchengladbach. I've watched enough of them, Josh, that I can solemnly say that I think they'll give anybody a really good game.
You're the Gladbach connoisseur. If you've watched on the channel with our goal shows, you'll know Kieran has watched pretty much every single match day of Gladbach. Ibrahim has put, good job, guys. You're doing a fantastic job. Definitely going places. Thank you very much, Ibrahim. It's very greatly appreciated indeed. You can have the Gareth Bale heart. Very greatly appreciated. In terms of the other teams in the draw, if you can't even see on the camera, you probably can't. In terms of the other teams inside of the unseeded section, two big Spanish sides, Atletico Madrid and Barcelona, of course. Atletico Madrid very nearly knocked out on the final day by RB Salzburg and dropping down into the Europa League. And I think that the team we need to talk about the most, Barcelona, of course, the last time we saw them in a knockout fixture, I think most Barcelona fans will want to forget they lost 8-2. They have a chance of potentially facing off again against Bayern Munich, but how much pressure is Ronald Koeman under to get... I don't know what the aim is for Barcelona. What do you think the aim is in the Champions League?
For me, Ronald Koeman was always a dead man walking before he even took the job.
He was always digging his own grave.
He's a bridge manager. I truly believe they've not got the manager of the future yet. He's just there to take the brunt of Messi's anger while he's here, have a squad that's unhappy, and try and piece together a season which, relatively unimpressive. They had a tough group, don't get me wrong. They've had to, Juventus is a tough team to face up in the group stage. But for me, they've not impressed in La Liga. They lost to Cadiz. They just beat Levante 1-0. It was a tight affair. But they always have, a star like Lionel Messi who can take games by the scruff of the neck. But for me, what is the goal for them, you say, Josh? I don't think they have a realistic chance of winning it this year with the team they've got and with Ronald Koeman. So, maybe beat a big team and see where it goes from there. But I don't fancy their chances. There's still a bad feeling about that club.
When Paulo Dybala is laughing in your face in the group stage, you know that you're not their manager.
Yeah.
They've got good youth. From watching them Pedri and Trincao, they had a good game against Juventus. On a loss, they played well. They looked excited. Unfortunately, that's a couple of years away before they're really hitting the heights. For me, to get out of that first round, and I know but that pot one is so stacked. If you get out of the first round, fair play to them, because you've got to bounce. It's the Champions League. You've got to forget about that thing, and the best way to do it is beat a big side out of that first round, like Kieran said.
It's going to be an interesting draw for Barcelona. Of course, they can't come up against any Spanish teams, which I will go through the draw procedure in a second as they bring out Stefan Schazpoist, one of the former players of the past, to do the draw, as they always do. But looking at a few of the other unseeded sides, you can see RB Leipzig, of course, coming out of what was a group of death within itself, with the likes of Manchester United and Paris Saint-Germain. Lazio, too, a very good side on their day, of course, looked very impressive in that group, although Club Brugge very unfortunate to lose out on the final day there. Sevilla, which is very rare, for the first time in what feels like forever, they're through to the knockout stages of the Champions League. And then I think the team that probably everybody's hoping they get, FC Porto, came through the Manchester City group, of course, was a pretty easy group for the both of them to get through. Porto aren't going to be walkovers. They've got plenty of Champions League experience in the past. They've won the competition, of course, quite a long time ago. But I think if there's one team out of the unseeded side, that's Atletico Madrid, Gladbach, Porto, Atalanta, Sevilla, Lazio, Barcelona and Leipzig. I'm pretty sure you'll agree with me. Most people will hopefully be expecting to get Porto.
Yeah, because there's a hell of a lot of teams there. You talking, if we talk about dark horses, Josh, I think if I could predict yours, it'd be Atalanta. And you know how good they are. So
yeah, they are fascinating to watch. We saw last season, of course, how far they went in this competition.
For me, Porto were the only one where I think, this isn't a Porto team with star-studded names that they've had in the past. They will give anyone a good game, of course they will, but for them to get through, they'd need a incredible performance over two legs, of course. The problem is we're back to two legs. So for a one-legged fixture, I would have given Porto the benefit of the doubt. They could do it over 90 minutes, but odds are, stacked against them in the round of 16. It's fair to say.
For me, don't rule out Lazio. Correa and Immobile, they look on fire. Yes, they only came second in the group, but they look like they could score against any team. They have a bit of defensive insecurities, but sometimes attacks can carry through the game. And if Correa and Immobile play how they were playing in that group stage, they could be little underdogs. Like you say with Atalanta, some of these Serie A sides could shock quite a few of these teams.
They could indeed, and well, we saw last season, as I said before, Atalanta were the team that shocked a lot of people going through quite far in this competition. The draw is going to take place in just a moment. They're just about to talk about the draw procedure, which means we'll talk about the draw procedure as well. It's
to be fair,
fairly easy.
So did Leipzig, though. Leipzig, semi-finalists, and we haven't mentioned them because we've only got a certain amount of time. That's the problem. But they're another team in pot 2 that I don't think anybody wants to face, because when they're on fire, they are on fire. Like, they drew with Bayern Munich. They beat Man United 3-2. They're a good team, and I just wanted to get a little shout out for them because they're another dark horse in this tournament, even though they were semi-finalists last year.
Which is mad when you think about it, the fact that they got all the way and they're still a dark horse in this competition. So let's look at the draw procedure. It's very, very simple indeed. It's not complex. As Kieran said before, second legs are back, praise the Lord. More Champions League games, which is probably bad for the clubs right now in terms of the congested fixtures over COVID-19.
Clubs get even more annoyed.
Yeah,
it will probably happen, but there's 2 legs, and the way that it's going to work is that the seeded teams will play at home in the second leg, so the advantage is to the unseeded teams in that first leg. Now, unfortunately, it's the most stupid rule, I think, in my opinion. No team can play a club from their UEFA League, Champions League group, which is fair, but they cannot play a side from the same national association. So, if you don't know what that means, basically, for example, Sevilla cannot come up against Real Madrid because they're from the same national association in Spain, as can other teams like RB Leipzig against Dortmund. We can't see that. And then, as I said, the draw takes place at 11. We're still waiting for it to kick off. And that is all you need to know. It's as simple as that. We'll go to the Europa League draw later on. I'll talk about it once again. But teams from Russia and Ukraine cannot draw up against each other. But there's no teams from Russia or Ukraine in the Champions League, so we're all good.
Do you think, that they can't play the people from the same nation? Do you think that's just a tourism thing?
I don't know if it's just to have like matchups between teams you wouldn't see week in, week out play against each other, maybe for either viewing figures or broadcasting or whatever. I'm not sure the actual logistics behind it, but I presume it's because we get that fixture 2 times a year anyway. So let's not. I mean, unless you're Oldham v Bradford and you get it 7 times a year.
Excuse me, we are unbeaten against Bradford. We have 3 fixtures.
Yeah,
you and Fleetwood.
I was about to say I'm sick of playing Fleetwood. Captain Pugwash.
The good news is, I believe we're about to get underway. Claudio Ranieri looks like he's actually going to be drawing out some of the balls today, which is fantastic to see. Good to see him getting a bit more involvement.
Do you think he's been promoted? Like he's actually been there for 30 years.
I think so. Maybe this is his time to prove himself.
It's like when you're at work and you've just done a really good job thing, and they go, Do you want to move them? Yeah.
He's got a big promotion. Good to see Claudio Ranieri getting a promotion, of course, drawing out the balls. Very quickly before we get into the draw, let's have a look at the comments. Benaldo saying up the Gladbach.
Yes.
Benaldo saying he'll be back in Sevilla this campaign, which we're going to be happy to hear. And then Bedo says he'd like to see Real Madrid v Atalanta, which would be a great game. But we are now underway with the draw, which means I'm going to go to our draw screen and get underway. So the first team out in the draw, which Claudio Ranieri is drawing out, which is fantastic to see, I love it, is going to be Gladbach. So the first team out is Gladbach.
Whose hat already gone?
Oh, it's my
and
boys.
Being drawn out, I'm going to take this off for now, being drawn out for Gladbach in this round of the Champions League, they cannot, of course, face Bayern Munich, Dortmund, or Real Madrid, which means Liverpool, Man City, PSG, Chelsea, or Juventus.
Chelsea or PSG?
Are the teams that they could face.
I'd say Chelsea or PSG. I don't want Man City, Liverpool, or Juventus, even though I think they'll give them a game. I'm trying to look out for my boys here.
And it will update on the screen in a second once the draw has been finished. So if you're wondering why it still says Team 1 v Team 2, then the player that they've got is currently struggling to open the ball up. He's like a very tightly wrapped Christmas present. He's struggling right now. In fact, he's had to get the assistant to open the ball for him here. So this could be a long draw indeed. So the first team out, Gladbach, will be facing off against Manchester City. Gladbach v Man City.
You know what?
Kieran,
It could be a lot worse.
Could it?
No, man, you can't face Bayern. It probably is maybe the worst.
It was them or Juventus. It's a difficult
You'll
side.
give them a game.
But, I do think Gladbach will give them a good game. Gladbach, unfortunately, they just can't get an easy run in this tournament, can they? They've worked for everything they've had.
But that's good. Remember, when they pick up that trophy, look who they've beat.
Yep, I feel like Chris Eubank. To beat the best, you want to beat the best.
So the second team out is Lazio, of course, came second in their group alongside Borussia Dortmund, who came in first.
Can't play Dortmund or Juve.
Of course, they cannot play Dortmund or Juventus. Of course, Manchester City already out of the draw. They could play Bayern, Chelsea, Liverpool, PSG, or Real Madrid, which basically means whoever Lazio get here is probably a fairly miserable draw, apart from maybe Chelsea, which, as we said, they've got a good game either way, but You said, Rowan, they did very well in their group. They looked impressive.
It's just the defence. I think you really have got to look at Correa, Immobile. Really, they did look good, but the defence. That's why they came second.
Well, the good news is he's been able to open the ball properly this time, which is fantastic to see. He's not had to get assistance. And Lazio will be facing off against Bayern Munich. What a tie that is. Well, Barcelona fans will be celebrating the fact that they won't have to face off against Bayern Munich, but I think Lazio fans will really probably enjoy that because it'll be a good tie.
Yeah, it's 2 good ties so far. I'm looking at the live chat of the thingy, and people are saying rigged for the draw because they are saying that Man City got an easy tie, and I disagree. I don't think it is an easy tie.
I think for a lot of football fans go, yeah, that's an easy tie.
Next team out of the draw, Atletico Madrid.
Now this is a big team.
Now this is a big team.
Liverpool.
They can face off against Dortmund, Chelsea, Juventus, PSG, and look away, Will Pete, Liverpool, if he's in the building.
Will Pete will be very scared right now. He's got itty shots.
This is like the Ronaldo licking lips situation. We want Liverpool just for the pure fact of, well, they faced off against each other before in the round of 16, and Atletico Madrid knocked them out late on. In what was a mental fixture, of course, one of the last fixtures to have fans in before, unfortunately, COVID took place.
House, wasn't it? Yeah.
And Atletico Madrid will be facing. He's opened the ball again. Fantastic to see. And they will be facing off against Chelsea.
Oh.
You got the tie you wanted, Jordan. Atletico Madrid, Chelsea. He said he wanted that for the return of Diego Costa. He's got that tie. You must be happy with that, Jordan.
That'll be a fun game.
That is an even game, I think. Even though one's in seed 1 and one's in seed 2, that so far for me is the most level playing field we've had.
Next team out, the Champions League semi-finalists of last year, RB Leipzig, of course, had a fantastic campaign. They can face off against Juventus, Liverpool, or Real Madrid. They have not got a good tie either way here, have they?
Flying high in the Bundesliga, though. They're on par with Bayern currently.
I'd like to see them against Liverpool. That is 2 attacking sides against each other that I would love to see.
So, 3 balls in the pot.
Everyone wondered how they do without Werner, but they seem to be
They're doing all right.
rolling.
Seem to be doing well indeed, and RB Leipzig will be facing in the next round Liverpool.
Oh, you got it?
Got the tie that
got
Kieran
it.
said he wanted.
Yeah.
RB Leipzig versus Liverpool.
Again.
We will come back to those 4 ties in a little moment. Let's move on to the next 4 ties with these teams, of course. So far, Gladbach v Man City, Lazio v Bayern, Atletico Madrid Chelsea, RB Leipzig v Liverpool. There's not one bad tie there so far, is there really?
No.
No.
I think in terms of what you would see from goals, like Leipzig, Liverpool could have a plethora.
Next team out, FC Porto. They could face Dortmund, Juventus, PSG, and Real Madrid. This is the team that I think everybody wants to get.
If they get Dortmund, this gets very interesting because Barcelona are still in there, which makes me think Barcelona PSG, I think, would be the only available option for that game if Dortmund come out right now.
Well,
if not, it's Barca Dortmund.
Here we go.
So
the team that is out to play FC Porto, which I said it'll update in a moment on your screen, will be Juventus. Porto taking on Juventus in the next round of the Champions League. I believe they faced off against each other a couple of years ago in the knockout stages. Of course, Porto having some experience in the past in the Champions League, winning it, of course, with Jose Mourinho, which means we've got 3 draws left.
Should be a Juve win that.
Yeah, I think Porto, unfortunately, it's a tough draw, whichever they were going to get, but...
Next team out, here we go. FC Barcelona, the next team out. They can get Dortmund or PSG. Rowan, this is a nervous time. Could be very nervous indeed.
Well, to be fair though, Barcelona are in exactly the same kind of situation with the way Dortmund are, like a little bit of turmoil at the moment, but you're not as bad as... it'd be good.
So here we go, the ball is being drawn out. If you've enjoyed the draw so far, do leave a like and a subscription. It is greatly appreciated, and I'm pretty sure from what I've just seen there, it's Barcelona against PSG. What a tie that is. In fact, they played against each other a few years ago, of course. That incredible game with the Barcelona comeback. They faced off against each other again. That is going to be a mammoth round of 16 tie. And, well, we said yesterday that I think people would already try and dibs games. I'm pretty sure that's one that is going to be dibbed very quickly, I think.
Not for me as well.
I'm taking Gladbach. Don't
look at
Dortmund.
me.
Means I'm probably going to nick that game anyway. Severe the next team out of the draw.
United.
He can watch Porto Juventus if he wants.
Isn't it Sevilla Dortmund? Because they can't get Real Madrid.
No!
Which means that Sevilla will be facing off against Borussia
They're the only
Dortmund.
option.
Boys! They're my boys!
It's the dream
I'll tell
tie,
you
though,
what,
for you,
it
isn't it,
is.
Rowan?
That is a good tie for both teams. They'll both fancy their chances in that one.
And
Definitely.
for me, one of them's going through.
Yeah.
So I can't complain. Obviously, I wish it to be Dortmund, but my boys. I fell in love with Sevilla last year.
So you can fall in love with them even more
Doesn't
when
this mean
Dibs.
it's
which means
Atalanta?
Atalanta are at home, and they will be facing
Real
off
Madrid?
against Real Madrid.
Real Madrid
in
look
what is
shaky.
a mammoth tie.
What a tie.
Real
What
Madrid
a
didn't
tie
have
that is.
points in that group where they didn't look amazing.
What a tie that is.
So
There's
to
a few
confirm
Great games.
your Champions League round of 16 draw. Let's take a look at these 8 games. That was a very good shot indeed. Well done, Rowan.
It won't.
Did he not go in? I thought it had gone in there. These are the 8 ties for the Champions League round of 16. We have FC Porto. Gladbach taking on Manchester City. Lazio, who'll be facing off against Bayern Munich. Atletico Madrid against Chelsea. And then that final draw on the first picture, RB Leipzig taking on Liverpool. Porto will be taking on Juventus. Barcelona will be going up against Paris Saint-Germain. Sevilla face Dortmund. And that final tie, Atalanta take on Real Madrid. Tell us in the comments what you think of the draws. There's some fantastic games in there. Boys, there are some mammoth ties in that round of 16. To be honest, there is not one bad tie. And to be fair, when we looked at the teams that had got through, they're all very good teams on their day. But ultimately, there's some very good draws in there.
Yeah, I think if you were to spot a weakest, I think it's Porto Juventus. That one seems quite, dare I say, very simple to predict. But we never know in the Champions League. We've seen some magical European nights in the past. But in terms of every single tie, they're not ideally, they're not all toss-ups, but most of them are very even. And you could see both teams having success in that game. Like the Sevilla-Dortmund one, that's one where they'll both fancy their chances. I look at that Atletico Madrid one, they'll both fancy their chances. It's a really, really fun draw. And then we get the main attraction, which is PSG v Barcelona. It's just a cherry on top of a very nice European cake.
It is indeed. Looking at the chat and seeing what you guys have been saying throughout the draw. Apologies, I've only just been able to read them out, of course. Got to make sure that we get the draw correct. Patrick was saying, just imagine Barca have to face Bayern. Of course, that was before PSG was drawn out. I'm pretty sure Patrick will still be delighted that Barcelona facing off against one of the biggest teams. Another put, Gladbach got the easiest draw. Everyone's saying rest in peace Lazio as well with their game. Cal did say, guys, thought you were joking about Claudio Ranieri. I wasn't sure.
No.
If so, it was hilarious. And of course, he's seen. He looks like him, doesn't he? He's mad. Patrick's saying we got Messi versus Neymar at least, which is a fantastic game.
Mbappe versus Messi.
Probably Mbappe, with Neymar getting a serious injury. And Chris has said, of course, with that Liverpool tie, not the worst draw, but very dangerous team. They suit our style of play. We get a lot of chances against them. Leipzig will get a lot of chances versus us. Yep. Both very attacking teams. Let's go through each tie, because we've got a little bit of time. I remember this time last year, when we did the draw, we had about an hour to kill before the other draw started.
Look at Quality Street's there to tide us through. Kieran's got his cookies.
No, we've got about 35 minutes until the next draw starts, so we've timed it perfectly well.
Half a pack of cookies.
if you were a regular viewer last year, we did have Quality Streets. We haven't got them this year, sadly.
But Maryland.
Let's start off with the first tie. Gladbach taking on Manchester City. Gladbach connoisseur, of course, Kieran. No doubt you'll be watching this game.
Of course. Yeah.
Interesting tie, because Manchester City right now, of course, at this current point, have been struggling to score goals. Not necessarily doing too good in the Premier League. Things can change in the next couple of months, but Gladbach will surely be looking at a game like this and thinking, well, we played Real Madrid, we smashed Shakhtar, we played Inter, we've got nothing to fear at this stage.
No, they are. This is the thing that I always admired about Gladbach during this group stage. They never feared any opponent. They took the game to everybody. They scored on the counter when they needed to against a team like Real Madrid. I think Marco Rose's side sets up really, really well. There's talent all across the pitch. Man City are a different beast, of course. If you look at the two teams, one of them's probably worth £400 billion and the other one's not worth as much because they grow their own talent. But in terms of a game, as you say, Gladbach will fancy their chances just to give them a game. And I think it's all down to that first leg, really. See how they can do there and go back to the Etihad. We'll see how fans are associated at these games, because we don't know what that's going to be like. And
fingers crossed we can have fans by that stage.
Well, yeah, of course the Etihad will still be empty. So we'll be fine. But in terms of a team you could face, You don't want to face Man City early. It's usually the quarters when you want to face them, because then it all goes to pot. But tough draw. But as you say, Josh, they'll be fearless like they always are. And I don't think it's as easy as some Man City fans might project.
It's not going to be an easy game, is it, for Manchester City?
No.
Well, I'm on Twitter currently under just Sky Sports thing, and there's obviously a lot of United fans saying, look at this, City get an easy draw. Someone saying, I'm just going to see who, I think is he West Ham fan, just said, of course City get an easy opponent, can't wait for Macca's 2-ram hat-trick now.
I hope that's not John Smith.
No, it's not, it's Senor Souček. Just like, I think a lot of fans just saying City getting an easy draw here. Gladbach are obviously definitely underdogs here, but are people just ruling them out that?
I'm biased, of course.
Obviously,
of course, I think they're a really good team. But in terms of you look at the draws that they could have had, and you look at Barcelona, and we have to admit, City do get easy draws every single year. They never have a tough group. They never have a tough round of 16 tie. But I do think people are very quick to count out this Gladbach team. I might be wrong. They might get destroyed, and then I'll look stupid. But in terms of, like, was it an easy draw? No. Was there harder teams to get? Yeah, of course there was. But I think Mönchengladbach will give them a game, and it's very rude to call kind of disobey them immediately.
It's going to be a fun tie, definitely. I'm going to clump two together, of course, because very soon we've got 32 different teams to go through in the Europa League. Lazio taking on Bayern Munich, of course. We said earlier about how Lazio in the competition have done pretty decent so far. It was a bit of a tough test to get through to the knockout stages, but they've got through, and in the end they've been given a tie against Bayern Munich. Going to be a tough game for Lazio, isn't it? But they will enjoy it because it's a great trip to Germany, potentially, if fans can go.
Yeah, it depends on, how the team's set up. I think we've talked about, that Bayern Munich have slipped up on occasions. I remember saying, when KD's doing the watch along, he says that Salzburg had multiple opportunities. Obviously, if Lazio get them amount of opportunities, I can see them finishing most of them with the players they have on the pitch. They do have talent all across the field. Yeah, a bit weak. I've got to admit, at the back they are weak, but you look in midfield, you've got Luis Alberto, Sergio Milinkovic, Savic, just real top quality players. Add in Correa and Immobile, and sadly, Josh, we have to add in Caicedo.
Yes, we do.
But I think it'll be a fun one. Do I think Bayern Munich will come out on top? Yes, but will Lazio give as good as they get? Definitely. Good side at Lazio, I like them.
Definitely will indeed. Rowan, Atletico Madrid-Chelsea. Fantastic game, this one. Jordan was saying at the beginning of the stream, I don't know if he's still here, probably absolutely buzzing with that. He said at the beginning of the stream, he came to me and he said, because I asked, of course, the question, who would everyone like to face? He said, Chelsea fan would love to face Atletico. Diego Costa against his old club would be nice. Well, Jordan got exactly tie he wanted. And that should be a good game. Another round of 16 draw for Atletico Madrid, where they're facing a Premier League club, but this time, Chelsea, tough test.
Yeah, I think it's more of a favourable draw than Liverpool for sure, but don't rule out Chelsea. They top the group. They have got talent. That talent, I think, still needs to gel, but I think it's an opportunity for them to now show that we are a good side. We can beat Atletico, but on the other hand, if Atletico beat Chelsea, it's a good win for them. It's a good win against a solid team, I would say.
It depends on, as we've talked about, the striker situation. Because if you can struggle to score goals without Haaland, you're not going to score against Atletico Madrid. You'll struggle to score with Haaland, let alone without Haaland. So he'll be back. But I think you're facing a very rigid tie. But again, for Dortmund, I don't think it's the most difficult team they could have came up against. I think Atletico can be got at. We saw it in the group stage.
Chelsea,
sorry. Why am I talking about Atletico?
I was wondering then. I don't know how we got onto Dortmund. Atletico Madrid, Chelsea.
Oh, is that the tie?
I can word it.
Is that the tie?
I can word it with you and say that, well, they should be fine because they've got Giroud up top.
Chelsea, well, you see now. Yeah, of course. See, Haaland might not score, but Giroud will. Sorry, I've completely got
It's all right. We will come on to that Dortmund game in a second. Because the tie that you predicted, Kieran, RB Leipzig, Liverpool, that on paper, as you said, is attack for attack. And I think it's one of those ties on paper that you will expect goals from this one.
I hope so. Because it's literally what we said. Like, when that draw came out, it's one of them where Liverpool v Atalanta would be fun to watch because that's just like a goal fest, even though we had it in the group stage, sadly. But I think that this game will be full of goals. I think Chris put it in the chat, there'll be a goal fest. Both teams, I think Liverpool are more dangerous than I would say in RB Leipzig are, but we've seen RB Leipzig give PSG, beat PSG. They've beat Man United, And I think Liverpool, this is going to be an even tie. I think this one goes down to the wire, I really do.
It's going to be a tough fixture for Kanate, Mukiele, Upamecano and Angelino thing, but they have defended well in the Bundesliga. This is probably a good time for that back four to really go, we can stop these big sides, and because they've played very well in their league. The defence has been solid. It's now time for them to go, we can beat Liverpool, we can hold them to no goals.
For Leipzig, it is, though, the lack of an out-and-out striker. Timo Werner, I remember we watched him against Bayern Munich. They didn't play with a striker. They decided to just stick a lot of cams on a pitch, and it works. Yeah. Believe it or not, they scored 3 goals.
And exactly, it worked perfect, didn't it?
Yeah, exactly. But for me, when you get to the latter stages of the Champions League, I think you do need a number 9. You look how important Lewandowski is. You look how important the likes of Haaland are. You look how important Aguero was to Man City. You do need someone that can turn a game on a dime with a brilliant finish. So I worry about that for Leipzig, but it should be a really good attacking game, and I do think it will be like watching tennis. It will just be end to end.
Should be a good game indeed. We'll look at the 4 other games in a second before we move on, of course, to the Europa League. Rowan getting excited for that one, of course. That draws in about 25 minutes' time. Very exciting indeed. Alexa's put hope in Lazio, give it a good go versus Bayern. That should be the tastiest tie. Alexa saying City should be favourites, but considering their history against the underdogs and Gladbach scoring loads, hard to call that one. Censored by Google saying Sevilla will probably go through against Dortmund. Don't say that to Rowan because he's a big Dortmund fan. Bernaldo saying I hope Atletico win. Says by Google then saying Lazio coming second in the group behind Dortmund have no chance against Bayern. Chris made a very good point about the Liverpool game. People thought Lyon was an easy tie for City last season. Look how that planned out. Very true indeed, of course. And I think there'll be a lot of Liverpool fans who might think, who maybe don't know much about Leipzig and think easy tie at the end of the day, but of course we know their experience in the Champions League over the last season or two. Carl saying I hope Barca demolish PSG. Bernal saying Angelino's been excellent for Leipzig, which he has been indeed in the Champions League so far. And then YAE family says I hope Gladbach do the job against City, which is fantastic to see.
I feel like I'm getting more people on the hype train now. Like once they've drawn Man City, everyone's suddenly like really behind Gladbach. But it's what we said. I think these games are just in Europe. You never really know what's going to happen, and I think with English fans, they're very quick to discard teams they've never heard of. Not never heard of, but aren't mainstays in the Champions League. They know how good Barca, Real Madrid, Juventus, they know how good they are. But last year, Josh, unless you do a European football podcast or whatever, the likes of Atalanta kind of go under the radar. They're just a team in Serie A that finishes in the top 4. You don't think about Lyon, another one. And I think that might be Gladbach this year, hopefully.
Unfortunately, I think it's that British mentality of, we're the best, we're great. I don't need to watch anything else. I don't know why they've got all the fingers got DVR choice, but do you know what I mean? I think we think, we don't need to watch any of the leagues. But luckily, I think the majority do, but then you've got us, the Sports Corner, but you've got a lot of people who will watch a couple of Serie A games, a couple of Bundesliga games, a couple of Liga, and they'll go, you can't rule them out. I think there'll be a couple of Liverpool fans, Chelsea fans going, you can't rule these out because they are a good side. But yeah, unfortunately, you'll see on Twitter, the majority will go, easy draw for us. It's not. Never an easy draw in the Champions League.
Never is. Let's move on to the last 4 games, of course, before we go to the Europa League. FC Porto taking on Juventus. We said at the beginning of this that this was the one team, I think Porto, the weakest of the sides in the Champions League this season. But Juventus, their record in the Champions League over the last couple of years hasn't been good. Of course, last season they were knocked out of the Champions League by Lyon, I think it was in the end, which was a very disappointing result for them and caused Maurizio Sarri to be sacked. They've got to make sure with Andrea Pirlo that they come into this game completely clear of their mind because, as I said, teams in the Champions League in the past, they come into these games. PSG, a great example over the last couple of years where they've had loads of comebacks from other clubs, not them, in the past. Juventus, they've got to go into this game against Porto and think they're not going to be easy to play because they've made it out of their group and every team in this Champions League is going to be tricky to face.
Yeah, I mean, I have Juventus winning the whole thing because I want to see Buffon retire with the Champions League. They're off to a good start because I'll be honest, we can never count anybody out. Porto will give them a game. No matter what, you'll get 100% from every single team in this last 16. But I don't think it'll be enough to get them through. As you said, Josh, they were shocked last year by Lyon. Really But then again, Lyon then went and beat Man City. Were we all just discounting how good Lyon were? Maybe that was the point, Maybe they were just that good.
It's going to be a fun tie, I think, to watch because there will be a lot of Juventus fans, I think, very similarly probably think we've got an easy tie here, but Porto fans said there's nothing to fear. They've got the home tie first, so the advantage is for them to go out and get a few goals. Rowan, the other game, I think the best tie of them all, in my opinion, in terms of the stature, Barcelona PSG. You watched that last game in the group between Barcelona and Juventus. And to be fair, I watched a couple of the Barcelona games. They didn't look convincing throughout the group stages. Although they got 15 points, there was points where they looked a bit shaky at times, and we've seen it in the league. PSG is a very tough test.
I was just going to talk about with the Juventus and how if a midfielder of Aaron Ramsey, who was an Arsenal reject and a youngster Weston McKenna is tearing up your side, imagine what Neymar, Mbappe, Di Maria, Icardi, just that PSG side can do to you. I'm scared for Barcelona, I'll be honest. I don't think we'll see a 7-2, but I think we might just see a washout. That PSG side is ruthless. From what I've seen for Barca, they have got worries. Shaky the defence in terms of just recklessness. Obviously, Longley had maybe just an awful handball done of what he was doing with his hands. And Umtiti didn't look amazing. Weren't winning headers that they should have done. The clearance is not looking the best. Having to rely on playing it back to Stegen, again, who didn't look... I think attacking, you're all right. You've really got the blend now of the youngsters and the old. Griezmann did have a good game, but it was bad, if that makes sense, in terms of he was winning headers, he was creating opportunities, but nothing were on target. And I think that's my worry. If you can get Griezmann to get a couple of shots on target, just shake Navas a little bit, you're in for a chance. But for me, PSG are too ruthless and Barca are too shaky.
It's a very tough time indeed. Very quickly, go for it.
Just think it depends on Messi's mentality. Can he be asked? Really, let's be honest. I don't mean to say, that he's thinking, can he be bothered at this point? He doesn't look like his heart's there. And without...
I was going to say perfect advertisement. He's been linked with PSG. There'd be a perfect place for him to advertise himself.
If PSG knock him out, Thomas Tuchel slips in maybe a contract under the door. But I just think if Messi can be bothered, they always have a chance because he is that magical of a player. But if he can't be bothered and we just see him walking around the pitch, which I think we've seen for many a year now, where he just doesn't seem to have his heart. And I think PSG might find this easier than what we'd expect, which is when you're facing Barcelona, you just don't expect to say that.
I can see a lot of you guys in the chat getting ready for the Europa League draw. We'll be building up to that in about 2 minutes' time. But we've got 2 more games to very quickly talk about. Rowan, I think this is your favourite tie. It's the two teams that you've kind of looked over the last couple of seasons. Of course, Sevilla last season, you watched them in the Europa League and you really enjoyed how they played. And, of course, they went on to go and win the Europa League. And Borussia Dortmund is the team that you love. Great tie, isn't it, for you?
Yeah, it's a great tie. I mean, I fell in love with Sevilla last year. I think I watched every single... It just happened that when we did the watch-alongs for the Europa, I just fell to the Sevilla games, and...
You fall in love with them, don't you?
Yeah.
When you start watching a team, and it's like the play style, and some people say, like, do you know when you support a team, like, oh, why do you support them? It's like, sometimes you just love what they're about.
Yeah.
And you obviously found Sevilla, and this is the thing.
And for me, I've always loved Dortmund since I was young. How I usually fall in love with a team is either colour scheme or players. So colour scheme, I love the black and yellow of Dortmund, and then I've obviously watched them as I've gone through. They've been like my OG.
My mum used to say that to me, when I was a kid, and she went, and people would ask, "Oh, why do you support?" My mum would go, "It's because he likes orange." I was like, "No, mum, it's not. It's
No,
been
it's
12
not.
years. It's not because I like orange."
I think, yeah, this is a game where it's a good chance for Sevilla to think, because obviously they're coming to Europa League winners, but no one really gives them a shot in the Champions League. We know they can dominate in Europa. This is their time to go get a good win over Dortmund, and then you can try build the momentum. I think I'd obviously love to see Dortmund go through, but like you said when you talked about Chelsea, the Haaland effect is going to be huge. He will be back, maybe, but you don't. If he's out for the first leg or the second leg, you either rely on him heavy. If he's out for all of it, you're relying on Marco Reus to carry you through a game where he can't do that anymore. A couple of years ago, we say yes, he's a great player now. He's a great lead for the team. In the game of the weekend and the loss, him and Hummels, instead of being downhearted and moody, they both went to all the young players, went to Reina, Mukoku, and Mara, and went, head up, we go to the next one. Yes, this loss is absolutely awful. And that's something I think, Karen, that team mentality they do have, same with Sevilla. I think my worry for them is that striker, and for Sevilla, we know they can score, we know they can play well. That front three last year, Campos and Nesri and Suso, played really well, and I think they could bounce off. Yeah, I think we scratched the Chelsea loss. That group didn't really matter at the end of the day. It was Chelsea. you've just got to now get that good win against Dortmund first leg. Could do it.
And they have Gedelge, Josh.
Of course they do, which is a great player on his day. It is Rowan's perfect tie, isn't it?
Any chance we can see if Liverpool score, can we have Issy?
Let's talk about that last game before we go on to the Europa League. Atalanta taking on Real Madrid. VAE saying, to be honest, Real Madrid might struggle with Atalanta. Bernardo saying Atalanta a tough offensive. We know that Real Madrid right now are going for a bit of a tricky patch. Atalanta, free-flowing, fun-scoring side. Great to watch, and I think everyone can agree with them. This, I think, for me, is my favourite tie of them all.
It won't be I think with us two in the room, there'll be different favourites.
Yeah.
But in terms of a neutral, for an under-the-radar... Because I think if you're a football fan, everyone will be PSG, Barcelona, unbelievable. Whereas if you watch these games and you match play styles and kind of form, unfortunately for Atalanta, Real Madrid are kind of recapturing it a little bit. They're kind of bringing it back around, which is kind of what they do all the time. I think they were talking on the commentary during the group stage. Real Madrid get better as the tournament progresses. Unfortunately for them, though, Atalanta are no pushovers. You've seen, Josh, that when they look dead and buried against, was it Ajax? And then they just keep fighting and they keep coming back. You cannot seem to kill this side, no matter how much you play them. And with the players they've got game changers, and that is what will trouble Real Madrid. Because if Gladbach can do it, my boys, I think Atalanta can as well. And of course, I think you might have dibs on this one.
Yeah, it's a very, very good tie indeed, and I'm looking forward to it. For those that are wondering when these games take place, I'm not going to lie, I have no idea. Find out online on the Champions League website, because I did actually have a picture sorted out for it, but I hadn't put it onto my USB
Love
stick.
that.
So yeah,
to find out for yourself.
If you want to know, go look.
Go look online. Yeah, have a quick look for me, because we're going to move on to the Europa League. Oh, we've got the slideshow on the screen. Let me take that off. Ta-da! We've changed. We're now to the Europa League. Magic, honestly. Magic trick, we've changed.
Transitions.
We're on to the Europa League round of 32 draw now. This one takes place in around 15 minutes' time at 12 o'clock. But, Rowan, when's the ties?
16th of February will be Atletico Madrid, Chelsea. Mönchengladbach City.
That's my birthday.
And Lazio Bayern.
What a day.
Oh my God, they
Gladbach
play on my
versus
birthday.
City.
Oh, if they don't win on my birthday, they've ruined it. I remember Hull City played Chelsea on my birthday. We lost 4-1.
You've ruined my birthday.
4-0. No, it was 4-0.
Don't say that. You've jinxed it now.
Dear Lord City, what a sad little life you have.
You ruined my birthday. I'm well excited for that.
But of course,
of Feb.
Around Valentine's Day, as it always tends to be, in terms of those fixtures. But we'll be keeping an eye out for them as always. But now let's have a look and see those ties for the Europa League round of 32. As I said, this draw takes place in about I'd say around 20 minutes' time, if I'm being honest with you. So let's take a look at these teams. I'm going to start off with the seeded pots for this. I'm just very quickly adding the picture in. So there is the seeded pots, as you can see on your screen. 16 teams. 16 teams in this section of the pot. I'm going to very quickly add the unseeded one as well, because, I was rushing about earlier on and didn't get to add it. So there we go. They are the two kind of sections of the pots. Tell us in the chat, as always, which teams you're supporting in the Europa League and which team you'd like to draw. Honestly, unprepared.
No, the Rangers Celtic people are back already.
Oh, here we go. This is it. I didn't even see that in a second. Here we go.
Already.
Right, so Europa League underway with this one. Rangers for life in the stream is always saying, who have Celtic got? Here we go. Says by Google saying, lads, Lyon beat and drew with Man City in the 18-19 group stage. Lyon beat Man City in the 19-20 quarterfinals. Not a surprise to many more people than you think.
Yeah.
And then Tamba Sam was saying, by the time the knockout get on its way, Chelsea boys will have gelled together.
Yep.
So that is the Champions League. Let's talk about the Europa League. As we said, round of 32, this one kicking off in about 15 minutes' time. Let's start off with those seeded teams. AC Milan, Arsenal, Ajax, Club Brugge, Dinamo Zagreb, Hoffenheim, Leicester City, Bayer Leverkusen, Manchester United, Napoli, PSV Eindhoven, Rangers, Roma, Shakhtar Donetsk, Tottenham and Villarreal. We would have had Kieran D with us today, but he's too embarrassed to join us because Manchester United are in the Europa League, so we don't get any Manchester United conversation out of him today. But what we can say is that looking at that seeded side of the pot, there are some very, very good teams that could quite easily have been in the Champions League. The likes of Milan, Tottenham, United themselves, Leverkusen. A lot of very good sides in there.
Yeah, and there's some surprises in there. Underdogs like Arsenal have made it through. Which
And Manchester United, I say.
quite impressive. Yeah. I hope Ronaldo appreciates that, because I've finally got in a bit of Arsenal slander.
I think he will love that one. I think he will indeed. So let's pick out some of these teams from that seeded side of the section. The first team I'm picking out here, AC Milan, what a fantastic side to watch in Serie A this season. Top of the league right now by a good couple of points. Had a really tricky group with the likes of Lille and Celtic in there as well. And well, to be fair, let's not say Celtic. Let's say Sparta Prague, because they gave them more of a test than Celtic did. Arsenal as well, another good team in there, although they're struggling in the Premier League. But let's talk about AC Milan first. Yeah. Originally, previously in that previous season, they were in the Europa League, but got banned from it, of course, because of financial fair play issues. They've sorted those problems out now, and they're a really revitalised side, aren't they, under Pioli?
They seem to be a team on the rise, and they seem to be brewing with confidence. And believe it or not, I think a lot of it's down to Pioli. I think a lot of it's down to Ibrahimovic, just his personality in and around the dressing room. I think we talked about it before. And do you know what, Josh? I remember us talking last season about who's the next AC Milan manager. Thank God they stuck with Pioli, because if they hadn't, I think it would have been the most stupid decision in history. But he's now top of the league. They've got everyone playing well. I think they've got talent on that team, and why can't they win this tournament? Because genuinely, from the outside looking in, if I'm going based on form and consistency, they are one of the best teams in this tournament, and they are so fun to watch as well, because we saw them in the. Didn't you watch them versus Celtic in the group?
I watched them versus Celtic, and it was a very enjoyable game to watch. The only worry for me is the game against Lille, where they were battered 3-0, and it was a battering in that game. But
they're a dangerous side.
Exactly. And what's mad is, I'm going to come on to them in a bit, they're in the unseeded section, which is crazy because I think originally they came in pot 3 in this competition, which is mad for a team like that. Rowan, let's move on to the next team. Arsenal. Now, Bernaldo said in the chat, no comment on Arsenal with the laughing emoji there. Of course, appreciating that one. And they've got a very tricky time in the Premier League right now. Of course, lost to Burnley yesterday, 1-0. Arteta is definitely fighting for his job. First question: do you think we'll see Arteta in the job by February to guide them into this game? And number 2, what do you think's Arsenal's chances? Where do you think Arsenal will go in this competition? I'd rather say.
I think we'll see Arteta, because I don't think there's anyone who will want to go to Arsenal now, and I think they may just stick with him. I just don't see anyone wanting to go there now, and I think Arsenal might know that. When you're losing to Burnley, though, you have worries, and unfortunately, I think every team, anyone can beat Arsenal at this point. Xhaka has got the mindset of a little child of, you stole my thing, I'm going to throttle you. I think the thing is, you've got quality on that. Your forwards are quality. They can fit into a Champions League side. I think with Lacazette and Auba, there's something about that team. And when Rob Holding's your centre back, I don't think you can really say you can contend for the Europa.
I think if we're talking about we couldn't have chose 2 more opposite teams to start this with. AC Milan are on one way and Arsenal are in completely the other. It depends, as you say, if Arteta's in a job. But for me, what's worrying is they don't score goals. They've got 2. You know, Aubameyang is now Burnley's second top goal scorer this season. And
Which is mad when you think about it.
Yeah, exactly. But for me, you know, Arsenal, they had that one Europa League campaign under Unai Emery. Unai Emery does love a good Europa League, so we'll get on to them later.
We definitely will indeed.
Yeah, but for me, Arsenal just lacking confidence. They win against Dundalk in the group. They've not been tested at all yet, so we'll see if they come up against real competition, how they'll fare. I don't see them winning it this year, but it'd be a massive boost for that club and Arteta if they were to go all the way, but it's a big ask.
It's a very big ask indeed. We're going to very quickly glance over some of these sides. Club Brugge, of course, coming through in the Champions League in 3rd place. Very valiant effort from them. Yeah. Very impressive side to watch. I did skip over Ajax, though, because Ajax last season, they were in the Europa League, of course, knocked out in 3rd place because of the Champions League group that they had. This season, of course... very, do you know what I mean? They're one of those sides where on their day they could be very good, but they were knocked out last season by Getafe, and they looked awful in the knockout stages. Getafe, who were fairly tired and had played a couple of La Liga games, so they were knackered, still beat them.
I think they're still reeling from them from the Ligt loss, the Van der Beek loss. Yeah. Luckily for Ajax, they do have talent coming through.
Yeah.
Eklenkamp and Gravenberch are hitting that. Do you know, you lose Van der Beek, but you've got them 2 coming through. Schürrle as well at centre half, sort of replacing De Ligt. And Daley Blind somehow just refinding form. With Ajax, you can say yes, they'll come into this tournament as favourites, but they could, like you said, against Getafe, they could just play awful. But yet they could be a side who will bang 7 past, maybe not 7, but they'll just score past you, play you off the park. They're a very 50-50 team, I feel like.
I'd say that. What were you going to say about Ajax, Kieran?
They're a very young side. That's the thing, in what you're going to get with youth is a little bit of inconsistency, and that's to be expected. I think we'll see the best of Ajax in maybe 3 or so years' time, and then half the squad will get stole by someone else, and then they'll have to come back again. I think they need some real good luck to get far in this tournament, but I do guarantee that they will be one of the things where you'll have an eye on a few players and you'll say, he's going to be amazing in the future. Kudus is one. Kudus,
yeah.
Kudus.
It might just be back for the Europa League because he's had a long-term injury, which has been out for.
He might, if he's in there, be one of them. I think, is it Lassina Traore still there?
Yeah.
So,
they might be about to lose Promise to prison. So
that is mental.
Which is a crazy situation. If you haven't heard about that, then it's worth reading up on because it's a mad situation indeed. I'm going to start clumping teams together because it's getting towards 12 o'clock. We haven't even gone through the unseeded sides yet. So let's take a look at the German sides in this seeded side of the section. There's 2 of them to talk about: Hoffenheim and Bayer Leverkusen. Hoffenheim this season in the Bundesliga, lingering around mid-table. They lost 4-1 to Leverkusen, fully enough, at the weekend and had 2 men sent off, which was mental. But the team I want to talk about, Bayer Leverkusen, who are currently, I believe, sat top of the league after that win yesterday, doing fantastically well in the Bundesliga. And
Unbeaten.
I think everyone was saying, losing Kai Havertz, they were going to fall apart. And in fact, they look better, which is crazy to say.
We always question, when you lose a massive player, does it make you a better team? And then with Leverkusen, that is exactly what we've seen so far this season. And, we did speak about it and we said, how much of a miss is it? It turns out, these players that have stepped up, Leon Bailey yesterday, who's had a little bit of inconsistency to his game. They've still got players like Diaby who can, light up a game. You've still got Florian Wirtz, who's literally just coming through the youth academy. He'll be the next man up. And somehow, if you can get the best out of Lucas Alario, you deserve all the credit you get. And so there you go. I think Leverkusen, not dark horses because they're a big team, but you don't want to come up against them.
Yeah,
they're stages.
They are a fun side to watch. They seem to be scoring goals quite often right now, which is scary indeed. I'm going to now group together the Premier League sides, of course. Leicester City, who have been in the Europa League since the start of the campaign. Tottenham as well, who were at the start of the campaign, and Manchester United, of course. Leicester City looking fantastic in the Premier League right now. Had a really good Europa League campaign, doing really well under Brendan Rodgers. What do you think about their shouts for the Europa League? Because they're one of those sides that haven't got experience in this competition, so they're very hard to tell where they're going to finish.
With Leicester?
Yeah, very similar to Wolves, I think, of last season.
But they do have experience in the Champions League, Josh.
They do indeed, which they went quite far in that,
they
of course, losing to Atletico Madrid, I think.
Yeah, they got out of the group, and then sadly it was a step too far. But in terms of Leicester, it really depends which they're putting the focus on, because they do have a decent amount of squad depth, but with a squad like that, I think they're still quite in the fetal stage of becoming a European side. I don't think that they're really a renowned top 6 side yet. So do they have the depth to fight on both fronts? I don't think so. But in terms of if you see them coming up against the likes of Leverkusen or AC Milan, is it a step too far for this side? I think they'll go toe-to-toe, but can I see this, if they get a tough run, can they run the table? I'm not quite sure, but they might as well fancy their chances.
It'll be fairly interesting indeed to see how Leicester do. Rowan, very quickly, I'm giving you the honour of talking about Manchester United, of course, dropping down from the Champions League into the Europa League, of course, getting a 0-0 draw against Manchester City at the weekend, which was the worst game I think I've seen quite recently, the last few weeks.
Awful.
Manchester United, they've got to look at this and think, yes, there are some tough teams in here, but we have to go out there and win it, because Ole is under a lot of pressure right now.
They have to get to the semis at least, and unfortunately, the way they played on the weekend, because you've got to base, when you look at things, you've got to base off the most recent either European or league thing. Against City, they didn't look amazing. They looked good. Then the forwards, though, Greenwood and Rashford, really, Westford, really wasn't hitting anything. We know they've got the talent, we do. Yeah. Bruno Fernandes can carry them through games, as we nearly saw in the game thing. Pogba had a good game. I think you've got the team there. Maybe, is it the manager? Maybe. But sometimes the manager has to sit back and the team just take over, basically. I think they can go far. for me, it's avoid them. Just don't get embarrassed.
Yeah.
Because if you get embarrassed, first of all, Ollie's out. Pogba will definitely want to go now. A lot of players will be unrested. For United, it's just about, you don't need to win glamorously. You don't need to get big 3-0, 4-0, 5-0 wins. It's 1-0s. Just win. Win games. Dropping down, yes, they had a tough group. But the way they lost wasn't pretty.
No.
Wasn't it? 3-0 down. You get 2 late goals, but if Leipzig shut off, probably. It's going to be a tough tournament for United, just with the embarrassment of the Champions League. You have to use this as a bounce-back system, and unfortunately, I don't see it.
It could
I want
be.
it to, for KD's sake,
Yeah.
but I don't think so.
Well, KD, of course, isn't here to back himself up,
No.
so it's going to be interesting to have Man United. I'm going to very quickly gloss over the rest of the sides because we are about 4 minutes away from the draw, about, I'd say, 10 or 15 minutes away from it starting. So do hang on, of course, to see what happens. Celtic for Life is in the stream saying, Rangers fans coming out under their rocks at long last. Where have these rabbits been last year before? Do I have to go on? Carl's saying, love to see AC Milan and my main man Zlatan win it. And there's a few people laughing at Arsenal, of course, being in the Europa League. I think there's a few people laughing at Man U as well, being in the Europa League. So very quickly glossing over some of the other sides in this competition. Dinamo Zagreb said before, the Croatian side, very decent team on the day. I think one of those teams that people will look at and think, quite tough to play them at home, a tricky team. We've got Napoli, who've been fantastic in Serie A this season. I think one of the best sides in Italy under Gattuso, looking very strong indeed. PSV Eindhoven, this time finally getting out of the Europa League group stage. Last season, you remember, they were knocked out of the group stage on the final day. They've made it through to the knockout stages. Shame we can't see Ajax versus PSV. That'd be a very good game in the Europa League. Not yet. If they can both get through, that'd be good. Rangers, of course, a stellar campaign, I think you've got to say, for them, finishing top of the group in a group which had Benfica in. It'd be interesting to see how they do, of course. Roma as well, another one of the strong sides in this side of the bracket. Tottenham too, looking very good indeed. And Villarreal, as always, looking a very good side. Apparently, nobody can see what's going on the screen right now.
Yeah, I think YouTube crashed because me and KL tried to get on and we couldn't. So this still might be. We're probably still alive, but I don't know if anyone thinks.
Thank you, Benaldo. You've absolute legend, by the way.
Yeah, cheers, lad. Hopefully we're still live. Just have a check here to see if we are.
I think it's a YouTube thing.
I think it is because the views are still going up. Tell us if we are still live because I think it will be just a YouTube thing. And then we've got Villarreal as well, managed by Unai Emery, who certainly loves a Europa League campaign. Of course, he's been a stellar manager over the last couple of years for Sevilla. And I think Villarreal are a dark horse.
Yeah. And as I say, we know how much Unai Emery loves this tournament. And, you know, he got to the final with Arsenal and, well, they took him for granted back then as well. As, you know, I just think he's a really good European manager. And we'll see if we can find out whether we're live or not.
Yeah, hopefully we're still live. I mean, the viewers are going up right now, so I assume we are still live in the end. But let's keep going on here anyway. Let's go on to the unseeded sides. We've not dropped any frames, so I can't see why we wouldn't be live.
I genuinely think it's just YouTube because I wondered if it was just me.
Yeah.
I even transferred from like data to Wi-Fi to see like if I could get a Europa League draw up, but I can't. So I don't really know what's going on.
Very strange indeed. I mean, I can't see any messages right now, so if you are putting stuff in the chat, I do apologise. I assume we're still live and it's maybe just YouTube crashing a little bit here. Let's go on to the unseeded sides. There's another 16 teams. Now, of course, these are the teams that will face off, be at home for their fixtures. There's a lot of very good sides, actually, in this side of the bracket. Royal Antwerp did very well in their group against Tottenham, came second, I think, in the group, did really well indeed, beat Tottenham, actually, 1-0 in their first original fixture against each other.
It looks all right.
Yeah, we're still live, which is good. SL Benfica, in that group with Rangers, they were very, very good at points. Of course, came and gave us probably the best game of the Europa League so far, that 3-3 draw.
That was
really
great.
good game. Not for Rangers fans, they were like that.
To be fair, they were
top of the group
think,
anyway.
Yeah, this is the thing. I think Rangers fans at the time were a bit like, you know, look at what we can do more than, you know, how heartbreaking it was. Because Benfica are a serial Champions League side for a long time, or a serial European side. And now they are being really impressive in both Europe and thingy. So that'll be a fun team to see who they draw.
Yeah, and Benfica, they were originally the Champions League playoffs this season, and they got knocked out in the end and managed by Jorge Jesus. I think they could be an underdog And one of the teams that I think some of these seeded sides will be looking and thinking we don't want them. Another Portuguese side, SC Braga, they tend to do quite well in these competitions, getting through to the knockout stages of the Europa League. Red Star Belgrade, one of the teams that people will look at and think we don't want them because the home tie will be an absolute nightmare, depending on if there's fans there. Dynamo Kiev, one of the sides that me and Rowan watched in the Champions League at the very beginning, in the playoff sections. They've, of course, dropped down to the Europa League, finishing third in the group alongside Barcelona, Juventus and Ferencváros. Granada, a very good Spanish side. First ever time they've got into the Europa League, and it's the first ever time, of course, they've got to the knockout stages. I think they're another one of the underdog sides that might surprise a few people because they've got the likes of Darwin Marquise that I don't think many people really know about.
No, completely agree with you on that front. I think in La Liga, you look at the teams at the moment, and if you look at kind of the top six, you look at Villarreal, who are really outdoing expectations. You look at Real Sociedad, who are outdoing expectations, and just underneath them, you see Cadiz and Granada and them sorts of teams. Very similar to Getafe last year. The comparables you can make are kind of second to none. They will give everybody a game in this tournament. Sadly, they're an unseeded team, so they might get, an AC Milan. It'll be a really fun tie, but a difficult one at that. But it should be fun to see how they get on.
Be a very good tie indeed. Now, apologies we can't see your comments right now. YouTube has gone down. So we are still live.
I think YouTube and Gmail are down.
But we can't see your comments. So if you are putting comments in, we do apologise, but we just can't see them right now. The draw... we're still live, so we're all good in that respect. But I think it's like comments and stuff that have gone down. The draw isn't underway yet. They're just looking at all of the teams that have gone through to the next stages of the knockout stage of the Europa League, of course. But let's keep going through these unseeded teams because there's a few very good ones in there. Krasnodar, another one of those sides that me and Rome watched in the Champions League playoffs, who have dropped down into the Europa League knockout stages. And the team that I think nobody wants to face, Lille.
No.
On fire right now in Liga and currently top of the table. They've only lost one game. They were on fire in the Champions League. I think the best player of the tournament so far, Yusuf Yazici, who is currently the top scorer in the Europa League. He's been incredible. And this is the one side that any of the 16 in that seeded will be going, God, please, let's not have Lille.
Yeah, there's a few of them. And they're definitely one of them. I think, Josh, we spoke about during the Lyon v PSG game last night just how fun this Lille side are.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like they're not the finished product just yet, but they are as close as you can be with such young players and really talented players. And you mix in a few of the more experienced players, Jose Fonte and Burak Yilmaz, and they've got a really nice blend and makes them a brilliant team.
I think once Jonathan David gets another 2 year under his belt of European football, this side could be great.
Yeah. I mean, they already are looking great. That's the scary thing. And of course, they're fighting for the title right now. And as I said, I think they can fight for it all the way with this team. They're a good team to watch. Another one of the sides, let's go to the right-hand side of the unseeded teams, Maccabi Tel Aviv, another one of those teams like Red Star Belgrade that I think clubs will look at and think, if fans are in, we don't want to face them at home. A very tough Israeli side. The team that I kind of hope Man U get, Mold. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer reunion with his former club, of course. Quite a tricky Norwegian side. Very tough to face. It kind of reminds me of Copenhagen to a certain extent. They're quite a compact defensive team, and it'd be interesting to see how they do in this competition. Olympiacos, we all know what happened last year when they came down, knocked out Arsenal in that incredible game where Yusuf El Arabi scored a late winner. What a match that was. And I think they're going to be a tough team to face.
In the Student Union.
We were indeed, which is mad to think at that point.
Well, was it? Because I just remember us all kind of reacting when Aubameyang had that late miss where
he should have put it in.
Yeah, this is what European nights brings you. I can't wait.
It honestly doesn't. It's mad to say how long ago that was.
Bring it back.
Another one of the tough teams in this competition, Real Sociedad, got through after a 92nd minute equaliser against Napoli. They were going out of the competition. Got the likes of David Silva. They've got some very good players, Isaac as well, and Adnan Januzaj. I think they're another one of the teams that people were looking at and thinking, we don't want to face them.
Yep, it's what Rowan says. Flying in La Liga at the moment. They're one of the teams that are up there. They were in the group that I talked about when talking about Granada that can cause teams problems. I think the Spanish sides in general that have dropped down or in the Europa League, I should say, apologies, are teams to fear. And these teams that don't get much plaudits, really, because for many a year they were just a mid-table side in La Liga, and now they're showing everyone how good they can be, and a really tough draw for anyone who gets Real Sociedad.
Certainly are indeed. Once again, for anybody who's joining us, apologies if you are trying to put messages in the chat. The YouTube chat system is currently down, so we can't see it.
No, YouTube is down.
YouTube is. So people are still joining the stream. So anybody who's trying to join the chat.
I've got to admit, via in terms of this, the app, YouTube, the app is down.
I'm guessing there might be some forms of getting onto it.
Down.
If you go through the web, I don't want to sign in. No, go away. If you go through the website, I don't know if this is what's on the screen at the moment, Josh. Is that what's on the screen?
That is exactly what's on the screen right now.
So if you go via the actual Google, you can get on it.
By the mobile website,
yeah.
So
you
the
can get it that
Gmail's
way.
down
So
as well.
it keeps telling me to do you want to open it in the app? I'm like,
no, stop it. We don't want
I
to.
can't do it, mine automatically opens.
But yeah, good to see that a few people have been able to stay in. As I said, apologies about YouTube going down. Of course it'd go down on the one
return
time
to
where
the
we
studio.
an incredible stream. But for those of you that are joining, if you enjoyed it so far, do leave a like and a subscription as always. It's very greatly appreciated. I've got to say thank you. We've had a few subs joining us and subscribing, so thank you very much. It's appreciated as always. Let's go through those final four teams. RB Salzburg came down from the Champions League. Fantastic side to watch this season, although they've struggled finishing. Tend to do quite well in the Europa League. They could be a tricky team if they can finish.
Yeah, they definitely.
There's another draw currently going on. That's all.
Okay, no worries. There's definitely a thing around RB Salzburg with the fact that they can't finish.
Yeah.
But in terms of a team to watch, they do sound like a really fun team. And I think if they get the right matchup in this first round, they could be one of the unseeded teams which surprise everyone.
Absolutely. I'm going to go through the final two and then one more to talk about. Wolfsburg, of course, the Austrian side coming through. Fantastic team. Done really, really well to get through to this stage, of course. Was in a group with the likes of Feyenoord. Young Boys, the Swiss side as well. They tend to do quite all right in this competition. And finally, the one team we want to talk about. The one team that I think Rowan is very anxiously waiting to find out who they face. Slavia Prague.
Yeah, I think... Okay. We say the same with a lot of other leagues. They've got an easy league, unfortunately. The Czech league division is easy. They dispatched Sparta Prague 3-0. They beat Slovan Liberec 3-0 yesterday. And that's my worry for them. They got demolished by Leverkusen. As much as I tried to deny it, the first leg they won because of the red card. I want to deny it. I want to act like they genuinely did beat them. But they didn't, legitimately. But yeah, it was... Leverkusen spanked them politely.
Yeah.
They really showed that Leverkusen are sad to compete with, and I think you've got it easy. Slavia did have it easy in that first leg. Sima has hit new heights for Slavia. Abdullah Sima coming in really out of nowhere in that Slavia side. He worked there last year. Either they signed him or he's come up through the youth academy. Peter Olienka, I love him. He scored at the weekend. He's got the passion. Your strikers, Musa has played all right. Sima can play there. Mazrapusta is transferred to a right back, but again, very attacking. Stanchu, when he's fit and healthy, they're a good side. If you've got a full fit and healthy side, Slavia can take anyone to the limit, but I think it'd be a loss. I think Slavia can go far if they get a good first game and then use that as momentum builder. But if they get a tough game to start with, I think it's lights out for them, unfortunately, as much as I hate to say.
Well, it might be lights out here at the draw in terms of getting it started. Maniche, former Porto legend, just talking to the interviewers, of course. Claudio Ranieri out as well to draw more balls out.
I thought you said Minuccio.
No, unfortunately not.
And Hull City legend.
Maybe one day Minuccio will do the draw for the Europa
Aaron
League.
McLean was on Sky, so Minuccio's got a chance.
Could have got Damian Doyle to do it, playing in the Europa League himself. You never know.
Where's he at now? Is he?
He's got to be playing somewhere.
He got kicked out, didn't he?
Once again, let's go through the draw procedure for this draw before we get into it. Once again, in terms of the draw rules, let me take that off the screen. The seeded teams will play at home in the second leg of the Europa League, like it does in the Champions League. No team can play a club from the Europa League group or aside from the same national association. So, for example, trying to think of two teams off the top of my head who were from the same nation. Lille cannot.
Slavia Prague, Sparta Prague.
Yeah, for example, Slavia Prague could not play Sparta Prague in the next leg of this competition. As could Granada. They couldn't play Real Sociedad. Of course, they're both in the same seed anyway. But
the seeded and unseeded.
It's the best example we can give you right now. And then the only change from the Champions League draw is based on the decision taken by UEFA. Teams from Russia and Ukraine cannot be drawn together, so we cannot see Shakhtar coming up against any of the Russian sides, which is a shame indeed. But well, it's justifiable with what's going on. I have actually got the tie times this time, so we can actually see when those games are being played. But without further ado, well, let's get into this draw. Once again, for those of you wondering, with the seeded teams, we've got the likes of Manchester United, Rangers, Arsenal, Milan, Ajax. The list is endless. With the likes of the unseeded sides, there's the likes of Lille, Real Sociedad, Benfica, Slavia Prague. Some good teams in there indeed.
And a quick Damian Doy update. He's actually not been picked up as a free agent.
Is he not?
Get him on commentary.
However, he did get 31 goals in 47 games for Copenhagen. So if you want a clinical striker, if your team's lacking goals, Dortmund,
Damian Doy is the man to lead you to glory.
Currently on the side, I've got the Rugby World Cup 2023 draw. We need to have these. Basically, do you know when they're putting the hand to swirl the balls around?
Yeah.
They turn the lights off, and when the ball's picked out of the thing, the lights go back on.
Now that's cool.
They've also got a ballet dancer doing one of the
It was
draws.
like the Qatar one. Do you know where they had really dramatic music every time?
They got like the drums going in the background. It was mad.
They've also got a French, because it's going to be in France. They've got a French ballet dancer doing the thing. They're just getting just French icons doing it apparently.
Now that's cool.
Is the draw nearly over?
The draw is about to take place in a second.
Claudio
Ranieri isn't talking about the procedure because he's drawing out the balls. They've got somebody else to do it. He's talking a little bit here about the. Good shot, that. They're talking about the draw procedure very slightly here, but we are about to get underway with the seeded sides. The likes of Roma, Arsenal, Leverkusen, Rangers, PSV, Napoli, Leicester, and AC Milan are some of the sides in this section of the draw. Hopefully we can get some good ties here. Rowan, Slavia Prague, who are you hoping for them to get?
Oh, Wolfsburg. No, they can't. That's the thing. With the Europa, anyone can win because you've all done well. You've all got out your group. You know what? Give us a tough game. Can we have Hoffenheim?
You can get Hoffenheim.
Give us Hoffenheim. Give us Milan. Give us Lille. Give us a tough game just to fight.
If I had a Europa League team, I think I'd take Rangers, you know. I know
You've got
I
the
didn't have
links.
one. I have a Rangers link, so I'll support Rangers in the Europa League, Josh.
I think depending on the situation as well, I think there'll be a lot of teams that will look and think we probably can genuinely take on Arsenal right now with how poor they've been. And depending on, of course, whether Mikel Arteta's still there. But for Rangers, who would you like to see Rangers get?
Wolfsburger.
Just go through to the next round.
Yeah, but in terms of interest and intrigue, I think facing a team like Real Sociedad would be so much fun.
Yeah.
Like Rangers v Sociedad, what a game that'd be. But that's what I'll do. But they're unbeaten still, Rangers, not been beat this year.
Indeed.
There you go.
And here we go. The draw is now underway for the Europa League round of 32. And Claudio Ranieri's drawing out the balls again. Come on, lad. First ball out. Wolfsburger. The Austrian side, of course. I got excited because you said Wolfsburger. They can face the likes of Arsenal,
Rangers.
Roma, Leverkusen, Rangers, PSV, Napoli, Leicester City, and AC Milan.
It's going to be a tough draw for them.
Now, this is going to take a little bit of time, of course, because there's so many different balls having to be put into the pot that, of course,
Josh, where are you watching?
The only team that can face is Dinamo Zagreb on the UEFA Europa League website.
Thank you, brother.
So it's on there. So Wolfsburger can only not play against Dinamo Zagreb. They were in the same group together, of course. As there's loves doing the stream right now, thank you very much for joining us. If you're new as always, do leave a like and a subscription. It is very greatly appreciated. So all the balls are in the pot. First team out is Wolfsburger, and they will be coming up against in the Europa League round of 32. Question is, can Maniche open the balls better than the other guy did?
Well,
the answer is he can.
He can. Smooth.
That's very smooth indeed. There we go. So the first team out of the pot, Wolfsburger, will be facing off against Tottenham Hotspur.
Oh, with your Bernardo, yeah.
Bernardo, how do you feel about that, mate? I think you'll be quite happy with that.
I know we can't see your comments in the chat, but no doubt
oh, yeah.
Bernardo will be absolutely buzzing right now. Send us a tweet.
Whoever DDoS YouTube, suck your mum. So,
Bernardo, tweet Josh.
Send us a tweet right now. It's at the underscore top corner. Tell us what you think of the ties, because the next team out of the draw, I believe is I'm not going to say it, but it looked like Dynamo Kiev. It is indeed Dynamo Kiev. Of course, the Ukrainian side did all right in their Champions League group. It was the same group with Barcelona and Juventus. They were up against Ferencváros, of course, to get that third place spot, and they did in the end get that spot. They've got Lucescu as their manager, a legend of the game and a very reputable manager.
Starman Viktor Sigankov.
They have
He's
indeed,
a very
of course.
talented Ukrainian youngster.
Now, they can't face off against Tottenham or Shakhtar. Of course, Shakhtar being Ukrainian side. Tottenham being in there, not in the group. Sorry, Tottenham already been drawn out anyway. So
It's everybody else, so everyone's on the table.
pretty much, very tricky team, I'd say, to face. Not an easy side, as you said. They've
I'd like an Ajax versus Kiev.
Yeah, that'd be quite an interesting
funky
draw.
tie,
That
I think.
a very underappreciated one, I think. So,
Yeah.
Dinamo Kiev, they're going to be up against in the round of 32. Roman obviously nervously waited to see if it's Slavia Prague, maybe. And the answer is, as he opens up the piece of paper, Dinamo Kiev will face against Club Brugge. I think that's a
an
really
interesting
good
game. That is an
tie.
interesting game.
Club Brugge having a good performance in the group. Shout out to Kettler, trying to create a name for himself. Already he's a talented youngster, but trying to create a bit more.
I like Club Brugge. I think they play really attractive football, and I think they do try and go for every single game that they're in. Big team. I like Club Brugge.
I think that's a very good tie. That two teams dropping down for the Champions
Do you
League
think
as well.
they're dark horses? Club Brugge. I think they'll give.
They'll go
everybody-
under the radar.
Yeah, I think
I
they're
would say so.
Atalanta-esque, really, with the way I think they could take this tournament.
I
Next
think they'll
team
sneak to the
out
quads.
the pot, by the way.
Sorry.
Real Sociedad.
Oh,
Sorry.
no, this is a big team. No, this, for any of the seeded teams, is a team you want to avoid.
Now, they can't face off against Napoli or Villarreal or Tottenham or Bruges because Tottenham and Bruges are already out. Villarreal,
Yeah.
of course, a Spanish side as well.
So,
Napoli
in the
were
group.
in their
So
group.
there's not many options.
They've got the likes of Man United, Ajax, Shakhtar, Hoffenheim.
Arsenal.
Any of these, Arsenal, of course, as well. Any of these
Oh.
kind of names being picked out would be a very good
She asks
tie.
for anyone who's going to face Sociedad, considering their form right now.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
few unseeded teams that are dangerous, and this is one of them. And I think if you're in pot one, these are the ones you don't want. And
So here we go. Real Sociedad
Arsenal.
will be facing
I'll predict
in the
Arsenal.
round of 32. As Minichia opens the ball up, he gets the piece of paper out. I've got a feeling it's going to be... oh, my Lord. Manchester United.
Oh,
what a tie.
That's a great tie.
What a tie that is.
That's a
Real
great
Sociedad
tie.
will be facing Manchester United in the Europa League round of 32. What a game that's going to be.
That's a great game.
Jesus.
I think United could win that one, but Real Sociedad will give them such a tough tie.
That is an absolutely
Hoping for anyway.
Brilliant
incredible
tie.
game.
Brilliant tie.
So the next team out, SL Benfica, of course, we're in the same
Tough team.
group as Rangers. Very good side, managed by Jorge Jesus. Dropped out of the Champions League playoffs, and they'll be looking to try and win this, I think, in my opinion.
They've got a shot.
good enough side
Yeah.
to go for it.
Can't play Rangers in the same group, of course, but they were impressive during the group stage. Coming back with 10 men and to draw 3-3. I know we're only Rangers, but that takes some team spirit. That does.
Oh, absolutely. And then they did it again, didn't they? They were 2-0 down to Rangers, and then they got another draw against them.
Jesus.
Of course, they can't face United, Bruges, Tottenham, or Rangers. Man United, Bruges, and Tottenham already out.
To be fair,
Rangers
at least in this
the
leg, they'll
group.
have 90 minutes to turn around the league rather than about
Yeah.
30, which is usually the gap they leave themselves.
So here we go. Benfica getting drawn out here.
Give him Shakhtar.
I'll tell you what.
Give him Shakhtar.
There's been some really good draws already here. We're only 3 in. That's
I
the
know.
mad thing. And SL Benfica, they will be facing in the Europa League round of 32. Yeah, they faced off against each other last time in the
Yeah, I
knockout
think
stage.
that'll be a really fun game.
And they will be facing Arsenal.
Oh!
What a tie that is.
Oh.
Benfica.
Arsenal,
facing
rest in
Arsenal.
peace.
That's a great game.
Jesus.
That is a great game
That is-
between the two.
Two incredible fixtures drawn out there. Real Sociedad, Manchester United, and Benfica facing Arsenal.
If you think almost a decade ago, two teams synonymous with Champions League football, both facing off in Europe's second competition, but still an absolutely brilliant tie.
No doubt the chat would be going absolutely mad right now. Shame we can't
Oh,
see it.
Red
Next team
Star.
out, Red Star
Red
Belgrade. The next team out. One of the sides that I think a lot of these teams will be thinking we don't
If
want to
fans.
face. If fans are there, of course. I'm going to sneeze. Give me 2 seconds.
By the way,
No, I'm not. It's all right. It was
Leicester-
one of those sneezes where
I
it
think
felt like it was going
Leicester-
to come out and didn't.
I think Leicester are a team that I could fancy seeing taking on Red Star. The thing is with Red Star, you see them against like Liverpool. They'll
Yeah.
give them a game, but I think you'd like to face them a bit.
yeah.
Dinamo Zagreb.
Ooh,
There's a lot. There's a lot of history between those two sides.
Yeah, I mean, Dinamo Zagreb. I'm looking at the other teams like available.
Yeah.
Shakhtar's quite a cool one.
Yeah.
I mean, that
You
would
want
be
a
some-
good
I
Eastern
think
European
that'd be
tie.
quite a hostile tie.
The
Yeah.
battle of the crowds is what
Yeah.
you want.
yeah.
Which is why we hope crowds come back. So Red Star Belgrade will be facing off in the Europa League round of 32 against AC Milan.
Well,
That's an interesting tie.
yeah, we've seen AC Milan they struggled to get into the tournament, believe it or not. Like when they were coming through.
The incredible penalty shootout.
Yeah. But they had a really good group stage. I think they'll fancy the chances to get through in that one. But what a chance for Red Star, to get a team like AC Milan in. It was like when fans, you want to see your team face teams like that. Great.
So the next team out is Royal Antwerp. Very impressive in the Europa League group stages, of course. Got a good result against Tottenham in their group.
Yeah, I mean, trying to put goals past Alireza Biranvan's going to be tough for any team, so we'll have to see who they get. I'm really excited to see Alireza Biranvan back in net for somebody.
He's only came into one of your room the other day, and you two just sat watching fucking
Iran's Argentina 2000.
Iran's greatest World Cup moments.
Incredible. I'd like to see them come up against Villarreal.
Ajax for me.
Do you think?
Yeah,
a big tie.
They're a very well organised side, Antwerp.
Yeah.
Really structured team. Got likes of Jordan Lukaku, who's at the club right now. So Royal Antwerp, they'll be facing off against in the Europa League round of 32. Just struggled with that ball there, which is very rare. Not as bad as the first guy for the first pot.
No.
Rangers.
Ooh.
Now that's an interesting.
That's a nice little fixture.
Yeah, I think Rangers will be happy. With that one, I know Bernardo will listen Tottenham in the group, and I'm sure Antwerp are a good side. But I think if you're Rangers, you've had a tougher group than what you've faced so far. I think they'll fancy their chances.
So let's move on to the next side. We'll come back to those games a little bit, of course, when we talk through those fixtures. That's a really good one. So the next team is Slavia Prague. Here we go. This is the moment of truth. Slavia Prague, of course, Rowan's side, loves them to death, adores them. They can't get Leverkusen, of course, because they faced off against them. They could get either Roma, PSV, Napoli, Leicester City, Shakhtar, Ajax, Hoffenheim, Villarreal.
No.
Dinamo Zagreb's the one you want. If you want to get through, I think.
Does anyone want to give us bye?
Napoli. Give them Napoli, just for fun.
Insigne tearing
Shakhtar.
down against Jan Borrell.
I'd like to see Shakhtar come up against them. Yeah.
I think if you Slavia, I think you want Dinamo Zagreb.
Yeah,
even though Zagreb are a good side.
This is it, Rowan. Your Slavia Prague side. I'm saying it as if you're the manager, but
Rowan
feels like the manager.
Forward to this game.
Slavia Prague will be facing off against in the Europa League round of 32 Leicester City.
Oh, that is a fun game.
Can't wait for Peter Olienka to make his name, get his move over to West Ham from it.
That is a fun game.
That is a
really fun game.
That's a really good tie. Rowan, no doubt.
I'm scared.
Do you have dibs on that game in the Europa League?
I'm scared because Jamie Vardy's going to run fields. That's not the word.
Run rings.
Run rings, not fields. Run rings around fucking Jan Borrell, who will continue to play till 73.
Believe in your team.
Next
I will
team.
believe in the boys, but
FC Salzburg out of the draw.
No, this one's interesting because this will be a really fun attacking game no matter who they face.
They can get Roma, Leverkusen, PSV, Napoli, Villarreal, Zagreb, Hoffenheim, Shakhtar or Ajax. I want them to get Shakhtar.
I was about to say the exact same thing. I want them to get Shakhtar.
I like Shakhtar, and this is the type of game where it's two very good sides who were in the Champions League, did really, really well, just fell short.
Just missed out.
Yeah, exactly. And this would be a good, really good just fight between these two sides in a two-legged fixture. So here we go. FC Salzburg, fantastic in the Champions League, just missed out because, they couldn't really finish, could they? That was the problem. Kept hitting the bar more than anything. They will come up against Villarreal.
That's a massive game. Such a fun game.
That is a really good time.
Will they have Spollerslife? Because I know he's linked to go to Leipzig, innit?
Probably not.
No, probably not.
Probably not, which is a shame for him. But Villarreal been really good. The most impressive side in the Europa League, I think, so far. Didn't lose a single game. I'm pretty sure they scored the most goals as well, which is fantastic to see. And no doubt they'll be hungry to try and win this competition. As Braga, the next team out.
Team who scores the most goals against a team who can't finish. It's a nice matchup.
Very good game indeed that will be. Looking forward to that one. So SC Braga are the next team out. They can get Roma, Leverkusen, PSV Eindhoven, Napoli. Of course, Shakhtar as well they can get in the group. Ajax, Hoffenheim are the only other clubs. And Zagreb as well.
Knocked out by Rangers last year in a really fun tie. That was a really good tie. 3-2 ended in the opening leg. And then Rangers won away at Braga.
The limbs
If I'm not mistaken, Braga have one of the most beautiful backdrops for a stadium.
Is it with the mountains in the background?
Yeah.
You are spot on.
Absolutely beautiful.
I think behind Monaco.
Who gets a great trip to a beautiful scenery?
The answer, AS Roma.
Wow.
That's a lovely
nice little fixture that.
Roma, a very confident side in Serie A right now. Won 5-2, I believe.
They'll be favourites going into that.
They will be, exactly. They'll be big favourites to go into it. And a very, very good tie, I think. Very enjoyable
one. I think Braga can give a good game on the day. They've got a few players I like Galeno. They've got Fran Sergio in the midfield that's been there for a while. Horta good player. Some really nice talent in Braga.
Next team out, FC Krasnodar. As we said before, me and Rowan, we watched them at the beginning of the Champions League. Of course, had a tricky group. And did, to be fair, did all right actually.
That's
in that
the thing;
group.
they didn't play it awful. I think there'll be a side again who will come into this and think we've got a shot.
Yeah.
Out of any sides, it'll be tough for them against a couple of the teams, but they've got a shot.
Absolutely. Now, they can't get
straight away.
Shakhtar, of course, because of Shakhtar being Ukrainian, which is a shame indeed. But Krasnodar got some good players on the side. Remy Kabea being one of them, Tony Vilhena, Marcus Berg, just to name a couple of them. They'll be facing off against in the Europa
Leverkusen and
League.
Napoli are still left, so
Round
they're the
32.
big ties.
Being avoided so far.
Dinamo Zagreb.
Wow.
That's an
That is a
interesting
We've
game.
got,
a
still
very
got big
interesting
teams
side.
left, so whoever the teams are in pot 2 left, they're going to be shitting themselves out.
Hansen Granada, that'll be an interesting team.
Give us a Granada Leverkusen, Granada Napoli.
Krasnodar Zagreb, two teams that'd be very happy they've drawn each other
Yes.
because, one of them's going through to the round of 16.
Very similar to the Atletico tie in the last one. They'll both fancy their chances in that game.
Absolutely. Next team out, Young Boys. The Swiss side always tend to do very well in the Swiss league. We're fairly comfortable in terms of going through to the Europa League knockout stage. They can get Leverkusen, PSV Eindhoven, Napoli. They can also get Shakhtar as well, who are
some
still
really
in the draw.
good games.
Hoffenheim, they probably can still get.
And Ajax as well. So I feel like they're going to get Ajax.
I'm about to say
here.
Hoffenheim would be
Hoffenheim are another one that are a good team. That's
not
still
doing
left.
amazing in the league. I think 13th.
But they did spank Bayern Munich.
They did, and that's all that matters in Bundesliga, really.
Yeah.
You
Pretty
beat
much.
Bayern Munich, you've got plaudits.
So here we go. BSC Young Boys. They've got Ensame up top, has been very consistent for them right now. They're going to face off against Bayer Leverkusen. Leverkusen will be probably thinking that they're favourites in this time.
But if you're taking it just from the Europa League group stages and in terms, not counting the drop-down teams, Leverkusen and Napoli and Milan are up there. There's 3 favourites, I would say. Leverkusen had a great game, had a good group. Won it. I said they would have won it comfortably if they were for that early loss to Slavia, but apart from that, they ran through their group quite easy. They'd definitely be looking to get through.
Oh, indeed. Next team out, Mould. Probably one of the weaker sides, you could say, in this competition. They can face off against PSV Eindhoven, Napoli, Shakhtar, Ajax and Hoffenheim. To be honest, looking at that, they're all pretty tough teams now.
Any team would be licking the lips going, we'll take Mould.
Yeah, and as sad as it is to say, I think they're one of the teams that a bit like Young Boys. They'll have a good campaign.
Yeah.
Usually, this is where the road ends, which is a bit of a shame. They'll give a good account of themselves, but if they get like a Napoli or something, it'll be really tough for them.
Well, the answer is they will be facing off against Hoffenheim, which, to be fair for them, is probably one of the better sides you could get. With Hoffenheim struggling a little bit in the Bundesliga right now, Mould will go into that and think, no fear, let's go into it and give it our all.
That's the thing, when you're a pot 2 side that doesn't have a big reputation in terms of European football, you'll go think, just give it the best.
But Hoffenheim don't have anything to fight for, so this is their big one, really, at the moment. They have nothing to fight for.
They've got nothing to lose, and that's the thing.
Yeah, it is indeed. Next team out of the draw, Granada, fantastic La Liga side, done really, really well indeed. Got the likes of Darwin McKees, he's been a fantastic player, of course, for the club. They can get the likes of Shakhtar and Ajax. I'd love to see them come up against Shakhtar Donetsk here. Be a really, really good tie.
If they get Napoli, that's another one that I think will be quite interesting, but Ajax as well.
Yeah. So here we go.
Do you know what? Any of
the teams are really good. So the next team out, of course, Granada, they will be coming up against the Europa League round of 32 against Napoli.
Yeah.
Now that is a very interesting tie. 2 informed teams right now in Italy and Spain coming up against each other. And of course, I think Napoli will be quite happy with that, as will Granada, to be fair.
This is the thing. I think they'll be happy, but they'll know what they're up against, and they'll know that this side is riding really high at the moment. Come February, to be fair, their form might dip. You never know at the point we're talking off right now, but it'll be interesting to see.
Be very interesting to see indeed. So we're down to the final 2 balls in the pot here. And the next team out is going to be Maccabi Tel Aviv, one of the teams that, of course, from Israel, a very tricky side to face if they do have fans, a very hostile atmosphere. They can face off against PSV Eindhoven, Shakhtar Donetsk or Ajax. So either way, I think all 3 of those teams will probably be looking at that and thinking, we're quite happy if we get Maccabi Tel Aviv here.
Sadly for them, they've come up against one where the teams left are quite tough, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a shame for them, but they'll give it a good go. They're tricky side. They're very, like Cluj and those types of teams that get through and do usually quite well. They'll face off against Shakhtar Donetsk of Ukraine, of course. Shakhtar, very good side on their day, did really well to get through to the Europa League, of course, in that very tricky group. But interesting tie, that one.
Shakhtar Donetsk. Shakhtar, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. They got ripped apart by COVID, got ripped apart by injuries, and they still managed to do a double over Real Madrid. So that that resume alone will scare a lot of these teams. So I think they should be all right. And this is the one we're waiting for. Losk Lille, Josh.
This is the one indeed. The tricky tie. They're either going to get
PSV
PSV
or Ajax.
Eindhoven or Ajax.
I
want Ajax.
They'd want PSV, but
Ajax just for fun.
just for fun. Who they get?
I think Ajax, like, both young teams that are really interesting to watch. I want to see that.
That'll be a great, big side going out early. So if you're a side who's not expecting to go far.
So here we go. Losk Lille will be facing off against AFC Ajax.
Oh, it's what you
What a
want to
draw
see.
that one is.
What a draw.
That is a fantastic draw, of course. Lille first as it currently stands in Ligue 1. Fantastic side to watch on their day. Ajax have got plenty of breathtaking youngsters, which means that the final teams to come out here, Olympiacos, of course, the Greek side who came down from the Champions League, we're in the group alongside the likes of Manchester City and Marseille, will come up against PSV Eindhoven.
Good tie.
In the next round of the Europa League. I made way too many graphics, I'm not going to lie. I put it to match 30, I don't know why, but let me get rid of them in the end. I'm extra prepared at the end of the day.
Well, not just more games, can't complain.
Exactly, we wish we could have more games. So let's go through these Europa League ties that have just been confirmed. Some really fantastic games. And let's start off with match 1 to 6. So to go through them all, Wolfsberger will be coming up against Tottenham Hotspur. Dynamo Kiev will be coming up against Club Brugge. Of course, two sides coming down from the Champions League from the third place position. Real Sociedad against Manchester United, a mouth-watering fixture in the Europa League. As is Benfica taking on Arsenal. Red Star Belgrade, they've got an interesting game against Milan. Rangers will be making a trip to Belgium to face off against Royal Antwerp. Next 6 fixtures, Slavia Prague coming up against Leicester City. We'll get Rowan's thoughts on that in a moment. Very fun tie for me. Salzburg-Villarreal. That'll be a good game to watch. Braga will be taking on AS Roma, while Krasnodar will be facing off against Croatian side Dinamo Zagreb. Young Boys will be facing off against Bayer Leverkusen, while Molde will be facing off against Hoffenheim. Granada face off against Napoli. Maccabi Tel Aviv have a tricky game against Shakhtar Donetsk. Lille face Ajax. And Olympiacos face off against PSV Eindhoven. Boys, some fantastic ties on there. Some mouth-watering fixtures.
Yeah.
I've got to say, looking forward to the Europa League, which is, I think a lot of people don't tend to really say that, do they?
Well, I think it's a tournament that people usually just kind of shrug their shoulders at and kind of pass it off as not very important. But you look at, I think it was like the first 6 ties in a row where we all went, good tie, straight away. And there's games in there between sides that if you watch enough football, you know what it's going to bring. And if I'm thinking, usually Josh will ask us our tie of the round of this round. For me, Losk Lille v Ajax is the one I want right now because that is fun.
It's a very good tie indeed. The chat is now back. Apologies for any of you which have been able to see what's going on. It's a shame because YouTube went down there for a bit. And for those of you that were able to stay, thank you very much. Ben I'm back. Not bad Wolfsburg. We will see Weghorst in action. One of our targets last round. No, that's Wolfsburg Air.
Wolfsburg Air.
Yeah, Wolfsburg Air.
For some reason it's called Wolves because Wolfsburg are not in the tournament. They call Wolfsburg in the thing. It's stupid.
Yeah, it's like the Pokemon evolution of Wolfsburg. You get Wolfsburger.
Wolves.
Yeah, it's Wolves. Wolfsburg.
Wolfsburg Air.
By the way, Slavia's Twitter is great. It's just a bunch of West Ham fans.
What?
Basically saying if we can do it, lads, you can do it.
Oh,
come on, the boys.
Bless them.
Good luck. This is all from West Ham fans. We'll loan you back Suchek and Soufal for the game if you send us Seamer in January. Good luck, lads. If West Ham can do it, easy win for the Slavs. It's basically because it's obviously Slavia's English account. It's just West Ham fans hyping up Slavia, which I love.
It's good to see this support for them. I mean, I'm going to go straight onto that game, Rowan. Slavia Prague, of course, coming up against Leicester City in the round of 32. Quite an interesting tie. Leicester City, as we said, have got previous Champions League experience and did quite well in that competition, but don't really know how far they'll go in this. As for Slavia Prague, came out of a very impressive group with the likes of Bayer Leverkusen in there. Good tie, do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a good tie. And they can win, again, having more English links that they'd like. I think if Seamer can keep up his form the way he's been playing, I think they can really test the Leicester defence. My worry is the Slavia defence. That conceding, your last European game was conceding 4 against Leverkusen. And they did look shaky. Andre Kolar, in when we did the qualifications, you saw how stellar of a game he had. He's sometimes carried Slavia through games in terms of just making great saves to keep him in it. For me, if I think all the things have to hit the right spots, get in the right places. Everything needs to fit together like a jigsaw. If that happens, I think they could do it. But I think, if I'm being realistic, I think it's a win for Leicester, because they are one of the top sides in this tournament. I just hope that they get a good performance in that first leg, because for me, they could do it. If they can get a draw in the first leg, they'll think, well, we can take them. If they get a loss in that first leg, that second's not going to be fun for them. But I'll be looking forward to it. There's worries because it's Leicester.
But an exciting game for the neutral indeed. In terms of the team you're keeping your eye out on, Kieran, Rangers, of course. Coming up against Royal Antwerp, the Belgian side, of course, did very well in their group, beating Tottenham. Do you think Rangers will look at that game and think we've got a good chance of going through? Yeah,
I think they will. To be fair, Royal Antwerp are no scrubs at all. They were top of the Pro League for a little bit this year. They've got a nice little team. I don't mean that in a condescending way either. I realised I was like, nice little team. No, they're a good side, and as you say, they'll be regimented. They'll stick to their tasks. They know what they're about, and they've got some talented players in there. But if you're Rangers, you're unbeaten all season. You are on, I think, probably the best form in the tournament. If you've not lost a game this season, you're up there in terms of form. So I think they'll fancy their chances in that one. I think it'll be a good game between two sides, which will fancy. I think if you're Antwerp as well, you probably fancy it. But I think Rangers will go through.
Absolutely. So I'm going to go through some of the other games now, and pick out the very best of the bunch. And the one that instantly came to mind is Real Sociedad Manchester United. I think if you're a Manchester United fan, you were hoping coming down to the Europa League you would get not a fairly easy tie, but one of the minnow clubs. Sociedad only just got through, as I said, in the 92nd minute because of a Willian Jose equaliser. They're on fire right now, Sociedad, in the league. They are in the top 4. In fact, I think they're in the top 2, if being honest with you, and they look hungry. This is not an easy game for Manchester United.
Nah, they're a talented team and they've got heart. You can't deny that. To keep plugging away and secure Europa League qualification without drawing the last minute. To be fair, they had a tough group, I would say. With AZ in there, I think as well. For a Europa League group, a group of death in the Europa League, kind of. For them, they had the stumbling blocks, but to come out the other side of it. Whereas I think United are still stumbling because of how unfortunate their Champions League exit was. We'll see if they're still reeling by February.
Yeah,
we'll see how they do in January. And we'll come to it back then. But Sociedad, as you say, are no easy feat in this tournament.
The thing is, it's 2 months until we get them fixtures.
Yeah.
Anything happen, United could find form suddenly, or Fernandes and Pogba could end up just getting injured or something for them games, and that's when you really have worries. Sociedad can do it, but it's 2 months away. We don't know what could happen. Yeah. I think if you come back to us in just end of January, mid of January, you could probably get a better idea of it. Because Arsenal all of a sudden might find form.
Teams that are top now, and we said Rangers were undefeated. They probably won't be undefeated by February. Losses come. Leverkusen, AC Milan, they're all these teams that are flying high. Tottenham Hotspur, for example. It'll be interesting when we come back to these, when we're doing the goal show in February. It'll be like, oh God, Lost Glil have been terrible recently. They've lost 4 out of the last 5, whereas now we're sitting in front of favourites.
Yeah,
exactly.
Anything can change, and I think that's the lovely world of the European competitions. We can come in saying this team's favourite, and then 2 months later, they're definitely going out.
Form changes so quick, and that's what makes competitions like these special. By the way, you can comment now. Chris has put, we can finally comment, get in.
Yeah.
Apologies about that. I said YouTube going down there for a little bit. Good to see everybody staying in the stream. And if you have enjoyed it, of course, do leave a like and subscription. It's very greatly appreciated. We are covering every single Champions League and Europa League draw live. We cover the FA Cup as well. So do keep your eyes out on that, because there's plenty more content to come, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Let's move on to the next game. Benfica Arsenal. Now, Benfica were fantastic in the group stage. Only just missed out on the top, of course, because of the results against Rangers. Arsenal right now struggling, which is quite funny enough. It could be in a few months' time we're talking about Arsenal back on form again. But this is a fun tie. Kind of looking at it from the situation now.
Go on.
If we're basing it on current form, that's a Benfica win. When you're losing to Burnley, surely Benfica are way above Burnley in terms of stature and playing ability. It doesn't look good for Arsenal, does it? Current form.
No. Current form aside, no. But if you're looking at this ties of the Europa League round of 32, name value, this must be one of the most star-studded round of 32 games there's ever been. in the Europa League off name value alone for these two teams, because there's so much history between two teams like this in Europe. So I think if you're coming at it from a Benfica side, you hope to God that the Arsenal are on the same path, because you don't want to come up against an informed Arsenal side. But we saw them stumble against Olympiacos last season.
That's the thing, they probably underestimated Olympiacos, and then Olympiacos went and stunned them. Arsenal have got to be in the mindset now, we can't have that thing of, we'll beat this side, it'll be easy, because surely last year proves it. So you've got to go in there saying we can beat them, we should beat them, but you've got to say they can do it. So give them on the back of the head.
Exactly. Bernaldo's put Twitter was lit on YouTube downtime. I bet it was. I mean, Chris put Bernaldo, they were acting like it's the end of the world. It bloody felt like it now. I thought, where's everybody gone? Let's have a look at the other games as well. Dinamo Kiev, Bruges. We said about that before. Two teams coming down from the Champions League. Bruges probably favourites for that right now. Kiev, though, looking fairly hungry. Red Star Belgrade coming up against AC Milan. Fantastic tie for Red Star Belgrade in terms of the history of AC Milan. A fantastic tie for the away side as well, because they will go into it thinking that they can win that match. Let's go on to the other 6 games now. We obviously already talked about Slavia Prague, Leicester City. Good game that one's going to be. And my favourite game of them all, Salzburg-Villarreal. I love that tie.
Yeah.
Salzburg, hungry side, of course, probably going to lose Soboslai to RB Leipzig in a few weeks' time. Villarreal being fantastic in the league. Two hungry teams. That I think there's goals in this one.
Yeah, there is. If Salzburg can find the back of the net, of course there'll be goals. But it's one of them, Josh, where we've looked at these teams and most of them were going, what a fun game these are. Like, you know, the Champions League has your big teams, of course it does, and it has the names. But when you drop down to a step below, some of these games will be competitive, they'll be enthralling, and games like this will just be a crap ton of fun, Josh. Just a crap ton of fun.
And yeah, it's one of them games where I'm kind of like, probably going to take dips on that. Braga coming up against Roma, as you said before, Kieran. Braga doing quite well last season. Not an easy side to face. Lovely backdrop for the stadium. As for AS Roma, another one of those tough sides, of course, in Italy, tend to do very well in these competitions. Usually get towards the quarterfinals, semi-finals at the very least. Krasnodar, Dinamo Zagreb. Once again, Krasnodar coming down from the Champions League. Zagreb doing quite impressively well in the competition, and that's quite a good tie, as we said before. Two teams that will look and be happy because they know one of them is going through to the next stage. Young Boys, Bayer Leverkusen. Bayer Leverkusen will be licking their lips with that tie. Although Young Boys have got a couple of decent players on the side, Sulejmani and Same, to name a few. But Leverkusen should ultimately be a very tricky test for them. Mold coming up against Hoffenheim. Mold, decent side of the day, well organised, impressive to get through to the knockout stages. Hoffenheim, tough side to face, mid-table in the Bundesliga right now. Mold might think there's a decent chance, but as we said before, form can change in the next few months.
I think with Hoffenheim sitting where they are now we're saying Mold have a chance, but it could turn out Hoffenheim could be sat in Europa at this point. I think Hoffenheim, regardless of where they are now, I think they will still go, we can win that quite comfortably. But again, Mold will say, look where Hoffenheim are now. If they're at the same point in February, there's no reason why we can't beat them. Yeah,
I just think they'll have their focus on this, Hoffenheim, to be honest with you. I think if they are, come February, unlikely to get Europa, unlikely to get relegated, they'll probably look at this and think, why not just give this the best we can give it, Because I think when they come up against a bigger team, they'll give it all they can get and go toe-to-toe. I think they will get past Mold, I do believe that. And then from there, they'll probably think, why not us? In terms of if they can string some form together, because they haven't been able to do that this season yet.
Absolutely. Let's go on to the final 4 games. Granada-Napoli, another one of those ties that I look at and I think that is a great game. Two informed teams. Granada, as I said, first time being in the Europa League. Very impressive for them to get through to the knockout stages in the same group as PSV Eindhoven. Napoli, one of the most informed sides in Italy right now, been incredible to watch. Lozano being one of the players who's on fire right now. That is just a good overall European tasty tie.
Yeah, definitely a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Napoli the favourites because of the name and the way they've been playing under Gattuso. I think one of the favourites for the tournament in terms of how they've been playing. But as we've said, Granada, I think they love the idea of being giant killers.
Yeah.
And I feel it suits them down to the ground. And if we see a shock like that on come February, I wouldn't be surprised, genuinely.
I think that's one, depending on fixture thing, if it's like none of our teams are playing, that'll be one that everyone wants.
This is the thing, I feel when it comes to the goal show, unless you've got your team, there could be some scraps over a few of these fixtures, because But then again, at least there's enough for us all.
Yeah, I was about to say, at least there's 16 games to choose from this time.
There's enough for us all.
And one of those 16 games is Maccabi Tel Aviv against Shakhtar. Shakhtar kind of being rewarded to a certain extent going down to the Europa League with a decent tie against the Israelis, Maccabi Tel Aviv. Once again, as I said before, one of those games where realistically Maccabi will be tough to face at home, but Shakhtar will look at it and think ultimately we should be going through to the next round of the competition.
Shakhtar were impressive in the Champions League. Take away the Gladbach games.
Yeah. And they were very impressive in the Europa League as well last season.
Yeah, they were. And again, take away the Inter game. For me, they are literally one of two. They're either really impressive, but if they lose, they lose. Like, they don't do it well.
It's like, if we're going to lose, we might as well lose in fun stature.
Exactly.
They lose, but bless them. They never sit back and go, let's just, get out of here 1-0 down. They'll just keep attacking until the last minute.
It's fun to watch because it means you're probably going to get more goals, but for the opposite side at the end of the day. And they are a fun team to watch, and hopefully they go through. I said I love Shakhtar as a team. Olympiacos, PSV Eindhoven. I think that's a really even game. PSV, not the team they used to be. Dropped down a little bit. Still a very good side, and they're in the Europa League at the very least. But Olympiacos, they've got previous Europa League experience, as we said, against Arsenal. That'd be a good tie. Yeah. And then the final one to talk about, Lille Ajax. What a tie
Probably
that one is.
Probably the best tie, you'd say?
For me, that's my favourite. It's not the best. I think best going off like Arsenal, Benfica, probably, if you're going off that kind of thing. But for me, in terms of what I would want, LOSC Lille v Ajax is so much like everything I love about football in one game, because it will just be two young sides with the blend of experience with like Blind and Tadic on one side, Yilmaz Fonte on the other, and then just players around them. I think that is just made up to be one of the tightest games of the round of 32.
They're just both are really hungry sides, and it'll make a very interesting game indeed.
It'll be a very good game, and that is the Europa League round of 32 draw. Once again, to go through everything for those of you that have missed it because the stream went down, let's have a quick look at the Champions League draw and see what happened there. Gladbach facing Manchester City, Lazio taking on Bayern Munich, Atletico Madrid versus Chelsea, and Leipzig taking on Liverpool, Porto Juventus, Barcelona PSG, Sevilla Dortmund, and Atalanta Real Madrid. And then finally with the Europa League, as you can see on the screen, let me take that one off there. There we go. Wolfsburg taking on Tottenham, Dinamo Kiev Bruges, Real Sociedad Man United, Benfica taking on Arsenal, Red Star Belgrade AC Milan, Royal Antwerp against Rangers, Slavia Prague taking on Leicester City, Salzburg, Rowan's loving it. Salzburg taking on Villarreal, Braga taking on Roma, Krasnodar v Zagreb, Young Boys via Bayer Leverkusen, and Molde versus Hoffenheim. And then the final four games, Granada taking on Napoli, Maccabi Tel Aviv against Shakhtar Donetsk, Lille facing Ajax, and Olympiacos facing off against PSV Eindhoven. Some really, really good ties across the two competitions, of course. In terms of the Europa League, with the times, the first leg is on the Thursday, 18th of February, with the second leg on Thursday, the 25th of February, with the round of 16 draw the day afterwards. Of course, we'll be covering that live, as we always do. Kick-off times, they'll be between 5:55 and 8 p.m. UK times, which means it's going to be a very, very busy double goal show, probably, with the Europa League, because of 8 games being on once and 8 games being on the other time. Get in there. More content. We love to see it.
No, this will be fun.
Oh, yeah, hectic for Josh.
Goal show.
Hectic
that
for me, but...
Oh, yeah, we're on it.
Yeah,
no, but Josh, normally we come in, don't we? Josh is going to have to keep his eye on like
I was going to say, it's going to be hectic for me, but I don't mind it when we've got some good ties.
We could take 2 games each, maybe. We'll figure it out.
We've got
2
plenty
months.
of time. We've got 2 months.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at the comments to see what you guys have been saying. And of course, as always, do put in the comments what you think of today's draws. Danny Lellon's joining us in the stream. Thank you very much, Danny. He says Real Sociedad versus United is the biggest tie.
That
and
is
I think
a fair point.
I agree with you on that. That is the biggest tie of them all in terms of stature. And I think, as you said as well, Benfica Arsenal too is a massive tie. Kyle did ask who did Man United get. Sociedad. Very best of luck with that game, Kyle. And then Bernardo's put, I'm looking forward to seeing how Lazio do in their game in the Europa League. And then Chris has put, who did Manchester United get again in the Champions League? Sorry, I meant Europa League. Spell check doing madness today.
We all hate spell check, don't we?
I'm glad KD is not here to witness some of the...
There will be fists in this room.
Nah, it's what we said the other day. I think we were talking during PSG Lyon. We were saying it's all good when you're the one bantering other people until you're the team.
I think you just got to have a laugh about it.
Yeah,
exactly. I've literally just seen a quote that's just come out from Glenn Hoddle. Of course, BT Sport today doing their Europa League and Champions League draw. He was asked about the game between United and Sociedad. He's just come out and said, if the game was tomorrow, I'd be genuinely worried about it. I really would.
Yeah.
He's not wrong.
No, I think Sociedad, if you know your European football and we always talk about, the BT ones, they're very favourable to the English sides, but if you get the journalists at the start, they're my favourites. You'll know that Sociedad are a tough team, but I think some people will sweep it under the rug and just say, it's Man United all day long.
And a very good point Danny Lennon's just made. Sorry for jumping in, Rowan. David Silva coming up against United again.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He knows United well.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What were you going to say before
I was going to say about what he said about the journalists. It would BT when, I think, Bundesliga were the first league to come back.
Yeah.
They had the journalists on, and the coverage was 1,000,000 times better, surprisingly.
Yeah, because you've got people that cover it all the time. And I tell you what poetic would it be? Would it be one Man City player, Angelino, that knocked him out of the Champions League, to another Man City player, David Silva, to knock them out of the Europa League?
And that's the thing.
Once
it
blue,
could genuinely happen. It's mad. Carl's saying it'll be a tough game for United. Caden coming in the stream. Thank you very much for joining us. Caden says, up the Spurs. But I've been saying, come on, you Spurs, of course. Good tie for them against Wolfsburger.
Yeah, I think they're becoming more and more favourites for this tournament as the draws continue. I like the mind games from Mourinho. The moment Man United drop down, Man United are suddenly favourites in his mind. Great moves from Mourinho.
I like Tottenham this year. I'm glad that they're challenging for the league now as well. Yeah. And then good Europa League try. Hopefully they can go far, especially for Bernardo as well.
Hopefully they can indeed. We're pretty much done here. Let's have a quick look and see what's to come on the channel, because we've got still plenty of content over the Christmas period. Join me tomorrow. There's a party at the Ali Pali. The World Darts Championship is starting. I'll be live tomorrow from 5:50 at 6 o'clock for that, and then I'll be live again tomorrow. Well, it's actually the day afterwards at 11:45. Get the drinks out. It's going to be a good party indeed in the darts. We've got a few confirmed Christmas watch-alongs. Arsenal, Chelsea on Boxing Day at 5:15, and then of course we're going to do this game. It's the Old Firm Derby, 2nd of January, 12:15. That'll be a great match. And then we've got something to announce, of course. NFL watch-alongs live next year, 2021.
Yeah.
And the NFL Corner is coming back. We've wanted to bring NFL back to the channel for quite a while now, and we're looking to bring some watch-alongs to the channel.
Me and Will are going to come back. We're going to make our valiant return, and then we'll sort out next year in terms of the studio, because that'll be back, because COVID won't be a thing, we pray. So we'll bring back the NFL Corner. We'll do our weekly content as always. We'll probably do a live reaction to the draft when me and Will will probably be back here, hopefully at that point. So, and then we'll look into next year, and me and Will will sit down and we'll do a master plan. We'll get some planning down, and we're bringing the NFL Corner back. Tune in every week. Me and Will will be back.
It's good to get some extra sports on the channel as always. Yeah. It's nice indeed. Of course, we've always got the wrestling corner as well on a Tuesday, which is going on.
We're just churning it out. I don't even know what's happened. Nothing much this week. Next week, TLC.
And then, of course, F1, he's done and dusted now. So F1 will be back in 2021 as well. Of course, if you missed the last race, then the watch-along is on the channel as always.
I'll tell you what, 2021 is going to be a bigger and better year, because we were just getting our feet underneath us, and Rona.
Yeah, we did have toes in the water, and then we pretty much got scolded, didn't we? To be honest.
Yeah, literally. Like, it's when you're about to get in a bath.
Yeah.
And you realise you were only running the hot. Who'd have thought, eh? And then
your Wi-Fi crashes, so you can't open the packs anymore as well.
So for some of us, not. And I think it's nice as well, as I said, for those of you that don't tend to be here regularly, if you've just joined us, this is the first time we've been back in the studio since March. It's been a long time. For us to be back in there, and it's a big thank you to everybody as well who's joined us today, because YouTube tried to stop us going live by just taking the entire service down in general, so no one could watch us. But for those of you that were able to come in and join us, thank you very much indeed. It's genuinely very, very great appreciated. And if you are new as always, do leave a like and a subscription. You've seen some of the content still coming on the channel. We've got the watch-alongs, we've got the podcasts, we've got NFL, wrestling, F1, darts, you name it, we've got it right now. But I'll just ask, when's the water polo Premier League watch-along? Next week.
Thursday, the 17th of January.
There you go. Exact date for you.
Essex versus County Durham.
We told you, Bernardo, we're coming back in 2021 better than ever, and there's going to be croquet.
Oh,
honestly.
I'd
Bowls,
do one stream
snooker.
a month where it's just a sport and none of us have any knowledge on.
Do you know what? I like that idea. That might be something
and it seemed like he's jumped the fence. Now, I don't know if this is competitive.
As long as it's not golf.
Oh, we're not watching golf.
No offence to anybody that likes golf, but you just had to say that.
Or snooker. Snooker's fun to watch, but not to do a watch on, I feel like.
And that's no offence to anybody who likes snooker as well.
Yeah, because I feel like it'd be quiet for a lot of the snooker game, and then we'll just occasionally go, great shot.
Oh, well, someone's really pulled out of the pocket
great
there.
Shot.
Cal
Netball.
Middleton says, I can't wait for these games. Really excited indeed.
Yeah.
And then Chris has put, shame I didn't see who Everton got. He's on fire today.
He's
He's
throwing
on
shots
fire.
at everybody. I
Honestly.
think this will come back, Chris, if you come out of the
Oh.
Champions League soon. It'll come back to you in February if you go
Can't wait for
out.
KD just on a watch and just berate him.
Yeah.
Berate Liverpool.
Yeah.
Certainly will indeed. But that's it, guys. Thank you very
Thank you.
much for
Thank you.
everybody who's joined us over the last 3 hours. It's been a fantastic stream indeed. We've got some brilliant ties, some mouth-watering fixtures, and we've had a good time. It's just
We've
been
had a
nice
good
to get
laugh.
out and get back in the studio again, which no doubt we will try and do a lot more
million.
in 2021.
Yeah, definitely. We've missed it massively because, we love producing stuff, obviously, from the comfort of your own room. It's always great. But we wanted to keep this as professional as possible, and this always helps us
New
to
year, new us.
Well, it will be, hopefully. And
Fingers crossed.
the only way is up, boys. The only way is up.
The only way is
Baby.
up indeed. Big thank you to Kieran and Rowan for joining me today.
Thank
Very
you,
much
Josh.
appreciated. Thank you very much. Of course, KD didn't join us today.
Thanks, KD.
Hence why they got a very tricky tie. But Bernard's put, cheers, boys. Well done. Thank you very much, as always. We're
Hero.
done and dusted.
Ronaldo,
Absolute hero.
hero for
And Chris
tweeting
as well.
us.
He's put,
Yeah.
honestly, good luck to Man United in Champions League. Sorry, I'm in Europa League.
He's back again.
He's still going,
Spell
honestly.
check, I tell you. He's a fiend.
Ruthless. Big thank you to everyone for joining us. As for now, we will be live tomorrow once again. And as I said, there's a party at the Ali Pali. I'll be live with the darts from about 10 to 6. But as for now, fantastic morning, evening, or afternoon, wherever you are. And we hope to see you again soon on Sports Corner. See you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.